Chapter 1. Martyrs. Outdoor disciple Ye Chen. Because Dantian was broken and no longer missed Xianxia, he is now expelled from the Zhengyang sect. He must not step into the Zhengyang Lingshan half a lifetime. In the majestic hall, the icy voice is like the judgment of God, full of majestic majesty. Below, Ye Chen stood quietly in the temple, looking pale as paper, listening to the ruthless judgment, his fists clenched, and perhaps too much strength, nails were inserted into the palm of his hand, soaking blood. Dantian ruptured, missed Xianxia. Ye Chen smiled, but it was full of sadness. 3 days ago, he helped Zongman go down the mountain to get the elixir, but he was attacked by a master of the enemy. He tried to protect the elixir. He returned to Zongman after his death, but Dantian was shattered and turned into an outright waste. However, he never thought that his loyalty was worthless in the eyes of these high-ranking people, and he was so impatient to drive him out as if it was useless garbage. "Don't go yet." Seeing Ye Chen still standing still, there was a voice in the hall again, very impatient. "Dantian is broken. Is it interesting to rely on it? Zhengyangzong never leaves waste. I have raised you for 3 days, and I have done everything." The disdainful voice in the temple fell into Ye Chen's ears, like a steel needle inserted into his heart. "This kind of sect is really chilling me." With a little sorrow and anger, Ye Chen turned silently. Outside the hall, there are all kinds of spirit mountains. Ancient trees stand tall, the spirit is hazy, the clouds are dazzling, the cranes are dancing and dancing, the place is peaceful and peaceful, like a fairyland on earth. This is Zhengyangzong, a Shushan gate in the south of Dachu. However, all this now, in Ye Chen's eyes, seemed so cold that he could not help holding his body trembling. "Let's say it, I'm still being kicked out of Zongman." As soon as Ye Chen came out, some disciples pointed at him, taunting and sighing. "Brother Yi is pitiful enough. He was very good to us before, otherwise we should send him off." "What to send? We are immortals, what is he? Tonight is different." The mockery and sighs around him made Ye Chen drop her head and wanted to say something, but when she spoke to her throat, he seemed to be stuck by a fishbone. At this moment, he was like a prisoner who was pulling to the street and was cast aside by the world. Yes, he is no longer Ye Chen. Today, he is not a cultivation fairy, but a wasteland of Dantian's rupture. His former arrogance has long since disappeared. In the face of the cold world, some simply accept it in silence. "Yo yo yo." A funny laugh came from the front. A disciple in white holding a folding fan came face to face and looked at Ye Chen with eyes full of mischief. "Who is this? Isn't this Brother Yi?" Ye Chen looked up slightly, and saw the appearance of the comber from the gap of his hair. He was fair-faced, his 2 thin lips showed a meanness, and he was still handsome, but he had a pair of Danfang eyes. Zhao Kong. Ye Chen found this person's name from his memory. Zhao Kong at that time was not as strange as it is now. At that time, he was respectful to Brother Yi. Thoughts were interrupted. Zhao Kong turned around Ye Chen, looked up and down, and his mouth was full of tongues. "Brother Yi. How is it getting so embarrassed now? I really feel bad for the younger brother, you see." Quote. Knowing that it was ridicule, Ye Chen didn't plan to say more, and immediately stepped forward. "Don't go." Zhao Kong straddled one step and stood in front of Ye Chen again, shaking the folding fan lightly, and looked at Ye Chen with interest. "Step aside. It's all rubbish, so stiff." He closed the folding fan suddenly, and the smile on Zhao Kang's face suddenly disappeared. "Do you really think you are the former Ye Chen?" Ye Chen shivered and wanted to refute, but was unable to speak. "Want to go? It's okay." Zhao Kong spoke again, saying that he had split his legs and looked at Ye Chen with a playful look. "Climb over from my majesty. Maybe I can still reward you with some spirit stones. Travel expenses." Quote. Zhao Kong. Suddenly, he looked up, and Ye Chen's dull eyes flashed a coldness. "Brother Zhao Kong, are you doing this?" Among the crowd, some disciples whispered, wanting to be injustice for Ye Chen, but he Shu was weak, and said with no confidence. "Looking for death." Zhao Kong turned back and yelled, glaring at the disciple. The scene was silent for a moment. It seemed to frighten Zhao Kang's strength, and the atmosphere didn't dare to say anything again. After shaking his disciples around, Zhao Kong looked at Ye Chen again and sneered, "Ye Chen, do you still climb?" "I Before he finished speaking, Zhao Kong stopped because he saw a Qian walking slowly not far away. The comber's clothes fluttered, the 3,000 blue silk flowed like blue waves, and the silk lingered around Guanghua. That peerless face was beautiful and suffocating. She was like an extraordinary fairy, and she did not mess with the world. Its sister Jining Shuang. The disciples' eyes were all around. Especially the male disciples, their eyes are fiery, naked. The naked salivation and admiration are fully exposed, but that is the beautiful and immortal fairy of the Zhengyang school outside the door, the object of all male disciples' admiration. In Zhengyang sect, who doesn't know, Jining Shuang is indifferent to thousands of miles away from all his disciples, but only in front of Ye Chen will show the world-loving beauty. They are the golden boy and jade girls recognized by Zhengyang sect. Naturally, such pictures are limited to the past. Now that Ye Chen is so down, the proud Jining Shuang will never smile at him like before. Jining Shuang. Ye Chen's voice was hoarse, and he could hardly hear it. He didn't turn around, but his eyes were complicated. That was the person he was willing to use his life to protect his life, but since the moment when his dantian was broken and repaired, Jining Shuang, who smiled brightly at him all day, became extremely indifferent. Since that moment, Ye Chen has understood that the so-called affection, the so-called Shanmeng oath, have disappeared. Sister Ning Shuang. Here, Zhao Kong has opened the folding fan neatly, greeted with a smile, and he was really evil. For Zhao Kang's smiling face, Jining Shuang only nodded politely, but her look remained indifferent, as if any disturbance in the world would not make her beautiful eyes ripple. Came to Ye Chen lightly, although Jining Shuang had sighs and regrets in her mind, there was nothing but indifference in the beautiful eyes, as if to say, we are no longer all the way. Go all the way. Few words, although beautiful, like heaven, still couldn't hide the coldness in Jining Shuang's tone. What kind of expression do you have, pity? Without going to see Jining Shuang, Ye Chen just bent over to pick up the backpack that fell to the ground. There was no tenderness in the words anymore. It was heartbreaking to say so. Jining Shuang didn't say a word. Some of the feelings of the past were just a momentary whistle. Leave, leave. Ye Chen patted the dust on the backpack gently. Ye Chen turned slowly, striding on tired feet. The thin back looked extra lonely under the moonlit night. Chapter 2. Heavenly Fire. Slap, slap. In the dark night, on a lonely old road, a thin horse walked slowly, and the sound of the hoof hitting the ground was slow and rhythmic. Ye Chen lay tired on the horse's back, looking up at the void quietly. Since Zhengyang sect came down, he has been lying on this horse's back, being carried by the skinny horse, and boundless, he doesn't know where to go or where he can go. Zong, no family, no parents, no relatives can be found in memory. He has always regarded Zhengyangzong as his home, and his brothers are his relatives. Now, he was kicked out of Zhengyang sect and turned into a homeless child. His unprecedented loneliness caused him to curl up involuntarily. Where is home? Murmured words, especially clear in the dark night, before unknowingly, Ye Chen's eyes became hazy, and fatigue made him unable to bear to sleep. Of course, just at the moment when his eyes were blurred, above the dark night sky, there was a dazzling star falling, especially dazzling. Seeing this, he suddenly sat up, and his eyes turned with the falling star's tendency. The star was golden, and seemed to have gathered billions of stars. It passed through the ancient times and went through the vicissitudes of all ages. Jinwei fell, shining the entire starry sky. That's what. Ye Chen looked at the night sky, and he could even see the thunders that were connected. Boom. When he was shocked, there was a bang, and the stars fell, and the earth trembled. The skinny horse seemed to be frightened, hissing back, and he fell off his horse. The stars are falling, the eternal wonders. Ye Chen hurriedly got up, stepping on the scorched earth, and slowly approaching the rolling heat wave. However, when I approached, I discovered that there was a star falling from the sky, but a golden flame the size of a palm. Suddenly, Ye Chen froze, never thinking that it was a flame that caused such a big movement. Soon, Jin Wei dispersed, and the flame was like a candlelight of a lamp, lonely hanging there, although it was a flame, but Ye Chen could not feel the slightest heat, and swayed the small flame, lonely, like a homeless child. Don't you have a home? It seems that loneliness is similar. Ye Chen couldn't help but stretched out his palm and touched it gently. The flame seemed to be spiritual, and it even jumped to his palm, playing like an innocent child in his palm. Interesting. Ye Chen couldn't help but reach out his finger and nodded the flame. However, it doesn't matter that, the flame turned into a golden light and penetrated into his body. Ye Chen talked discoloredly, and did not respond. The flame seemed to be very playful, turning around in his body a lot, and finally slipped into the cracked dantian. Soon, there was a scorching heat in his lower abdomen, causing him to look inwardly at his body. He saw an amazing scene. Because of the flame, his broken dantian healed at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. The meaning of warmth, flowing all over his body, seemed to be the winter moon, bathed in the hot sun. Ye Chen opened his mouth. But this is not over yet. The flame jumped up and down in his dantian. It seemed that he felt the narrow capacity of his dantian, and its small flame body suddenly became huge, exuding brilliant gold, until it became a golden sea of fire, and with it turned into a sea of fire, which also expanded Ye Chen's dantian. Well, Ye Chen groaned while holding his lower abdomen, and fell to the ground on the spot. There was such a sound in the underworld, and dantian, which Ye Chen had just recovered, broke up again. It was broken by the flames and became white, like a heaven and earth. The white mist was dazzling above and the golden light was dazzling below. At this point, the flame stopped quietly, floating around there, as if walking around his newly created home. But it is like a person who is fine. Ye Chen's condition is not good. He was lying on the ground, panting heavily, already sweating, and painful, causing blue veins to appear on his forehead, bloodshot eyes, and even his face became distorted a lot. I do not know when. The pain gradually dissipated, and a sense of warmth hit the whole body again, so that Ye Chen returned to Qingming. At this moment, he stared at dantian after his earth-shaking changes, opened his mouth, and his throat was a little dry. Is this Danhai? Monk's sixfold realm. Ning Qi, Ren Yuan, Zhen Yang, spiritual deficiency, emptiness, heavenly silence. The reason why Ye Chen is so shocked is that the so-called Danhai is a higher level than dantian. Only when he cultivates to reach the empty realm can he really open up the Danhai. He couldn't think of it. The flame not only repaired dantian, but also he opened up the Danhai. Suddenly, the thin aura between heaven and earth fluctuated. Soon, the heaven and earth auras converged towards Ye Chen, forming Ye eyes swirl around the center of Ye Chen, which poured into his body through the pores of Ye Chen's whole body, and then poured into his Danhai. His body is like bottomless. The whale swallowed the aura between heaven and earth. At this time, the flame was alive again, and all the auras that poured into Danhai were strongly tempered by him into pure golden true Qi, so that the dry Danhai that had just been opened up became golden and dazzling, really angry like the golden ocean. Ye Chen looked at Danhai. Ye Chen's eyes were a little confused, his body was shaking a few times, and he fell to the ground. There was nothing to say all night, and then dawn. In the morning, Ye Chen's eyes spilled on Ye Chen's face through the window. Opening his eyes slowly, Ye Chen faced a small childlike face, looking at him with big eyes. "Brother, you're awake." The boy showed 2 rows of white teeth. "Who are you?" Ye Chen Ji Ling sat up, looked at the boy, and looked around. "Very strange. What is this place and why am I here?" "My name is Hua." The boy was simple, with a thick smile. "This is Hengyu Zong Xiaoling Garden. You fainted in the forest last night. You and your grandfather brought you back." Heng Yizong. Ye Chen froze. The 3 kingdoms of the Great Chu Kingdom. The bloodthirsty palace dominates the northern Chu, and the Zhengyang, Qingyan, and Hengyu sects dominate the southern Chu. To a certain extent, the Hengyu and Zhengyang sects are still hostile. Ye Chen never thought that he had just been kicked out of the Zhengyang sect not long ago, and today came to the hostile Hengyu sect. "You're hungry. I'll get you something to eat." Seeing Ye Chen faint, Hua said. She also ran out. On the bamboo bed, Ye Chen froze for a while, and the consciousness gradually returned to Qingming, only to remember what happened last night. Thinking of what happened last night, Ye Chen hurriedly inspected his body. Danhai was a dazzling piece of gold, like a world, with a mist of white mist above it, and a tumultuous tumbling golden color below. Not dreaming, all this is true. Ye Chen breathed a little, And when he woke up, the broken dantian not only repaired, but also opened up the danhai. Even the true energy in danhai became more and more refined. Holding his fist, he found the long-lost monk feeling, vision heli, at this moment, had an unprecedented sublimation. And all this is due to the golden flame. Thinking of the golden flame, Ye Chen's eyes subconsciously looked at the golden flame suspended in the danhai. It swayed the flames, and jumped like a child. You're not going to be a real fire. Ye Chen thought of it, summoned the flame into the palm of his hand. Suddenly, the temperature in the room rose up instantly, but he could not feel the terrible temperature, but had a kind of affection for the flames. You will follow me in the future. Ye Chen smiled, stroking the real fire gently, indescribable joy. Brother, come out for dinner. Come here. After receiving the real fire, Ye Chen turned over and jumped out of bed. Chapter 3. Sturdy Ye Chen. Stepping out of the door, Ye Chen looked around. This is a small garden, only 20 feet in diameter, and there is a spiritual fruit tree in the center of the small garden. Except for the boy named Hua in the garden, he is an old man. The three were sitting in front of a small stone table with a huge bird squatting next to them. They were staring at the food on the table. Monks, this kind of bird is called a spirit beast, used as a monk. After talking, Ye Chen learned that the old man who rescued him last night was called Zhang Fengnian. He was abolished for repairing and degrading Zongmen because of mistakes, so that he lived near the foot of Hengyu Zongling Mountain. Come, kitty, this one is for you. Hua threw a piece of bacon in the bowl to the giant bird, and said that he still did not forget to touch the giant bird's head with his little hand and watch the posture. I saw the giant bird as a loved one. Here, Zhang Fengnian smiled gently and looked at Ye Chen. Young man, you are also a monk. Ye Chen, who was gorging food into his mouth, heard Zhang Fengnian's question, hurriedly put down the chopsticks, and nodded with a smile. Which martial art do you have? Old man, I have no aptitude, just a casual repair. That's a pity. Zhang Fengnian sighed. Fenghua Zhengmao, it is time to find a cultivation gate. After all, you have the cultivation resources you need, and it's not that old. 1. Quote. The predecessor said yes. Ye Chen smiled again, and concealed his past. Of course, he can practice again, and he will certainly seek to practice the ancestral gate again. Zhang Fengnian said that doing casual cultivation is not safe, not to mention that the practice resources alone is indeed a problem, but being a disciple is different. At least there are pedigrees that can be relied on, and the cultivation resources are also guaranteed. Seeing Ye Chen thinking, Zhang Fengnian smiled kindly. Young people, are you interested in being a disciple of Heng Yizong? Of course I'm interested. Ye Chen laughed in a hurry. He thought the same way. Heng Yizong's strength is not weak. Zheng Yangzong, and he really has no place to go at this time. Being in Heng Yizong, here must also be his best choice. It can be said that he is full of energy at this time, and he is a leader in Zhengyang sect. He firmly believes that with the help of true fire, in Heng Yizong, he will certainly shine in the near future. Senior, the threshold of Heng Yizong is not low. Ye Chen asked while looking at Zhang Fengnian. Anyway, I write an introduction letter. I believe that it is still possible for you to be an intern disciple. Introduction letter. Listening to these 4 words, Ye Chen couldn't help but secretly look at the old man. Although he could not cultivate the waste man, it was not so simple on the surface. Boom. At this moment, the door of Shaolingyuan was kicked open, and then a young man in white came in. Yo, what about eating? The young man in white smiled miserably. Zhang Dao, what are you doing? The tiger baby immediately stood up, staring angrily at the white-robed child, and Zhang Fengnian's face suddenly became gloomy, and even the giant birds on the side were screaming non-stop, open. The big wings protected the tiger baby behind him. Ye Chen glanced at Zhang Dao to see that he was a disciple of Hengyu, because the word Hengyu was on the robe, and he could see through the Dao's cultivation, and he had reached the 2nd level of condensed gas. Humph. Zhang Dao snorted coldly and looked at Zhang Fengnian fiercely. Old things, please hand them in, or don't blame me. I don't have what you want. Taking a deep breath, Zhang Feng's old face turned pale in an instant. Don't shame your face. Suddenly he yelled, and Zhang Dao kicked the table, kicking it fiercely, like a robber with a knife licking his blood. Ha, ha, the giant bird on the other side has rushed forward with wings fluttering. Although it is a low-level spirit beast, it has a high level of intelligence. The expression of someone with big eyes is anger. Look for death. Zhang Dao's eyes were cold, and there was a qi lingering between his palm fingers, which instantly condensed into an air blade, and instantly left a blood puppet on the bird. Big Bird's blood splashed and fell to the ground. Kitty, tiger baby rushed over. Ha, ha, the big bird cried out of energy, Rao is so, but still protected the baby with big wings. You wicked. Fingers tremblingly pointed at Zhang Dao. Zhang Fengnian rushed to his heart and almost fell to the ground. Give it up, otherwise don't blame me for being cruel. Zhang Dao took a step closer, but the spicy word had not yet been spoken. Ye Chen, on the side, slapped her head and covered her face with a slap. Snapped. The applause is crisp and loud. Zhang Dao was beaten, and before he didn't react, he found that his arm was tugged by Ye Chen severely, and his body immediately lost his balance, and even when he was separated from the ground, he was whipped up. Boom! With a loud bang, Zhang Dao, who was arrogant at the last moment, was severely dropped by Ye Chen on the ground, and the stiff ground was smashed into a human shape. Puff! A spit of blood spurted out, and Zhang Dao was moved by Ye Chen's internal organs. In this scene, looking at Zhang Fengnian was dumbfounded. On the side of the tiger baby, seeing such a sturdy Ye Chen, could not help but swallow a spit. Admittedly, Ye Chen was a sneak attack, but his strength was a bit scary. However, where did they know that Ye Hai was Dan Hai? If it is to fight for the true Qi, the repair is the same as the condensed Qi. Ye Chen Dan Hai has 3 times the amount of Qi as they are. In this way, although Ye Chen Shou is the first condensed Qi, it is the 3rd heavier than the ordinary condensed Qi. People are doing heaven and watching, and accumulate more virtue for themselves. With Ye Chen's curse, Zhang Dao, who was beaten up with flesh and blood, was thrown out of Xiaoling Garden by Ye Chen. At night, Ye Chen conveyed the vitality to the kitty, which saved the kitty's life, but for a long time, it was difficult for this loyal giant bird spirit beast to fly in the air. Thank you very much today. Zhang Fengnian was sitting on the stone steps, looking at the old man a lot, and was poisoned by his apprentice. For his kind old man, it was really hurt. Whatever the seniors say, it's just a matter of raising their hands. Ye Chen smiled arrogantly. Just listening to Zhang Fengnian's sigh, the murky old eyes were full of memory, as if remembering a sad past. I was the elder of Heng Yizong, only to be degraded to this small spiritual garden because of a big mistake. And that Zhang Dao, my former disciple, everything was my fault, and I taught nothing. Quote, the master leads the door, and the practice depends on the individual. Ye Chen comforted, the seniors don't have to blame themselves, it's just his nature. He just wants the grandfather's curse. The tiger baby on the side exclaimed, his fist clenched tightly. These grandfathers have robbed him of everything these years, and come to bully them every day. Quote, celestial curse. Ye Chen is no stranger to the name. Heng Yizong has a magical charm, called Tian Ling Mantra. Once attached to a person, he will seal the person's true energy in a short time. This charm has long been famous case. This kind of charm is extremely precious. It has never been rumored. Ye Chen never thought that this kind of charm would have such a charm. My friend, I have already written the letter of recommendation, and I will go to the mountain to practice tomorrow. Your talent is not low, but don't bury it. While Ye Chen was thinking, Zhang Fengnian had stuffed a letter and a file into it after Ye Chen's hand. There is also this file, which is introduced to Heng Yu. Nothing more to see. Thank you, senior. Chapter 4. No one wants. In the middle of the night, Ye Chen jumped out of the little spirit garden and looked for a quiet place. She crossed her knees on the rock, quietly exposing the mysterious fire of Modanhai. Since he got this real fire, Ye Chen has benefited a lot. He first repaired Dantian and then opened up the Danhai. The true energy was also refined and refined. It can be said that his foundation at this time was better than Zhengzheng. Yangzong must be strong. Really extraordinary, Ye Chen whispered, then closed his eyes and raised his mind. His mind was unprecedentedly bright. Soon, the thin aura of heaven and earth converged, centered on him, and formed a vortex of aura, which was taken by him, absorbed into the body through the whole body acupuncture point, then poured into Danhai, and then tempered by the golden true fire. On the other hand, he divided the real fire into countless paths, either infused into the meridians or wrapped the bones, and used it to temper the bones and meridians. Over time, in the subtle influence, his meridians have been widened and become flexible, and the bones have been tempered by real fire, and the flaws have been smoothed out, becoming smooth and flexible, and a little bit of gold lingering on it. I don't know when he jumped off the rocks and tempered with real fire, making him feel more comfortable than ever. Very good. Ye Chen roared heartily. Ye Chen stepped down one step, rushing with anger, converging in the palm, and there was a slight thunder lightning between his fingers. Ben Lei, with a loud shout, he slaps on a rock with one palm. Boom! The strong palm wind brought thunder and cracked the rock. This method is the attacking mystery obtained by his experience. Its name is Ben Lei Palm, with the potential of Ben Lei, the sound of thunder, and strong and overbearing. Because of this, when performing this technique, you must have a high demand for physical strength. Otherwise, the powerful palm of the thunderbolt will hurt the enemy, and may also hurt your own meridians and bones. This is overbearing. Disadvantages of mystery. However, this disadvantage is completely negligible for him. With true fire quenching, his physical strength, meridian and bone toughness can already ignore the self-injury of Ben Lei's palm. Call. Exhaling a deep breath, he took out the file that Zhang Fengnian gave him and spread it out. Heng Yizong is divided into inside and outside doors. The outer door is divided into a hall, 2 gardens, 3 peaks and 8 pavilions. Hall 1. Law Enforcement Hall. If the elders are at fault, they will be handed over to Law Enforcement Hall. 1 lesson. Commandment Hall. If the disciples are at fault, they are left to the Commandment Hall. 2 gardens. Spirit Grass Garden and Spirit Orchard. 3 peaks. Qianyang Peak, Diong Peak and Renyang Peak are the 3 main peaks of Hengyu Outer Gate. 8 pavilions. Spirit Pavilion, Book Collection Pavilion, Lingdan Pavilion, Wanbao Pavilion, Chengkan Pavilion, Mission Pavilion, Information Pavilion, Juqing Pavilion. The inner door is 1 hall, 2 gardens, 7 pavilions, and 9 peaks. In comparison, the inner door has 1 less Lingdan Pavilion than the outer door, but it has 6 main peaks. It's the same as Zhengyang sect. Ye Chen touched his chin, and he was a disciple of Zhengyang sect's information cabinet. In addition to practicing, he collected some simple information. Because of this, he was the last time after going down the mountain, Dan Yunzong's disciples broke Dantian. However, as a disciple of the Zhengyang sect's information cabinet, Ye Chen was keenly aware that this Hengyu sect is just like the Zhengyang sect. It looks calm on the surface, but secretly there is a dark tide and a dark battle between various factions. It never stops. I do not know when he closed the dossier, stretched a lazy back fiercely, and then returned to the little spirit garden, fell down and fell asleep. There was nothing to say all night, and then dawn. In the early morning, just when a red glow emerged from the east, Ye Chen opened his eyes. With a long spit of muddy breath, he turned over and jumped out of bed. His face was rosy, his spirit was full, and even his breath was thick. After a brief breakfast, Ye Chen walked out of the Shaolingyuan. In the eyes, it is a strangely long stone ladder that leads directly to the Lingshan mountain. Until it enters the cloud, Ye Chen has not seen the end. Taking a deep breath, Ye Chen lifted his feet and walked up step by step, and at each step, he could feel the immense expanses of air coming forward. In the last step, Ye Chen looked up at the world in front of him. The mountains in the distance were vigorous, the ancient trees were towering, the aura was hazy, the clouds were dazzling, and there were fairy cranes dancing in the clouds from time to time. I found the feeling in Zhengyangzong. Ye Chen smiled, greedily sucking the aura flying in the air. As Zhang Fengnian told him the route, Ye Chen walked towards one side. In the early morning, when the aura and the essence of the sun and moon were the purest, Ye Chen came all the way and saw a lot of diligent disciples sitting on the rocks to practice, so that Ye Chen passed by them. They just glanced at them. A glance. After a few turns, Ye Chen came to a loft named Juqing Pavilion. There are 3 disciples in and out of the Juqing Pavilion. Each disciple will look up and down when he sees Ye Chen's face, but when he detects that Ye Chen is only heavy, he will also show disdain. Here it is. Ye Chen looked up at the attic, walked in, and handed in his recommendation letter. In the lobby, it was an elder Xingyi who received the letter. When he heard that it was introduced by Zhang Fengnian, the elder Xingyi did not forget to look up at Ye Chen, and then opened the letter. When elder Xingyi looked at Ye Chen was secretly watching the elder Xingyi of Juqing Pavilion. This man looks too lawless. Secretly, this is what Ye Chen couldn't help saying. No wonder he is so. Mainly the elder Xingyi, who is too long. His eyes, nose, and mouth are slanted, and not slanted to the side, so that he has a strong impulse, that is to go up and straighten him. Looking away from elder Xingyi, Ye Chen looked to the other side. In addition to elder Xingyi, there are still 3 people sitting there, one with a big belly and one with skinny skin. The third one is quite normal. They talked very well. It didn't look like this elder, but came to visit the door. These 3 people are the first of the 3 main peaks of the outer gate of Hengyizong, Zhang Laodao, Zhehong and Qingyang real people. After reading the elder Xingyi, he handed the letter to the other 3, and laughed. 3 brothers, you discuss and discuss, who would like to be the master of Ye Chen's friend. This is introduced by Zhang Fengnian, give him some thin side. Quote, oh, this is fresh. The 3 looked at the letter alternately, and then looked up and down Ye Chen. How old are you? Zhang Laodao, who had a big belly, looked at Ye Chen. 16 years old. 16 years old. Zhang Laodao raised his eyebrows. It was only 16 years old when he was full of condensate. Your talent is also zai. Having said that, Zhang Laodao had a dry cough, and he got up, patted his big belly, and said, well, I have something to do at Tianyang Peak, so I will go first. The words didn't end. The plump Zhang Laodao ran out of the lobby, afraid that the elder Xingyi would drag him back to collect Ye Chen as a disciple. After Zhang Laodao left, Zhehong also stood up, holding his hands upside down and glancing at Ye Chen with a disdainful glance. Our Yangfeng does not collect waste. Talking, Zhehong also walked out of the lobby. Only elder Xingyi was left in the lobby. Zhang Laodao and Zhehong were walking back and forth. Elder Xingyi had to focus on the real person in Qingyang. Brother Qingyang, sell me a thin noodle and put him away. Qingyang real man frowned, then shook his head slightly and said, Brother Xingyi, he is far from qualified to enter Renyang Peak, but I can't agree, his talent is too bad. I still have something to do. Let's go first. Then, the real man Qingyang flicked his sleeves and walked out of the lobby like a gust of wind. The first of the 3 main peaks of Hengyizong left one after another. The purpose was already obvious, and they did not want to accept Ye Chen as an apprentice. Ye Chen understands this very well. It is conceivable that a 16-year-old monk is just as hardworking as he is. How bad this talent should be. If it is not a good apprenticeship for training, it would be strange to not be laughed at by others. However, if you let them know Ye Chen's true talent, I don't know if they will come back and rob. The 3 men left one after another, and the elder Xingyi was extremely embarrassed. Looking at Ye Chen in the hall, elder Xingyi coughed and laughed. Little friend, it seems that you can only be an intern disciple, would you be willing? The internship is the internship, maybe I'll get it right someday. That's good. Elder Xingyi took a white jade card out of his sleeve, and then entangled his fingertips engraved with the word Ye Chen on the jade card, which was then handed to Ye Chen, smiling, little guy, this is your jade brand. Quote. In addition to these, elder Xingyi also took out a jade bottle. Although the jade bottle was sealed, Ye Chen could still smell the smell of the medicine. Needless to say, what was in the jade bottle was the spiritual fluid that helped cultivation. Because you are an apprentice disciple, you do and have Hengyu exercises and Hengyu robes, and you can only get 1 bottle of this jade spiritual fluid. Thank you, elder. Ye Chen took the Yuling Ye, and didn't care much about it. Well, go to the lingering pavilion to pick up a magical weapon. Elder Xingyi smiled and said that he still patted Ye Chen's shoulder, with a gentle voice, without the slightest majesty of the strong, little guy, good work hard and see how you perform after 3 months. Quote. Chapter 5. Epei Tina. Out of Juqing Pavilion, Ye Chen followed the guidelines and came all the way to Spirit Pavilion. The guard of Lingbao Pavilion is a plump elder, and his small eyes can almost be seen by plucking it with his hands. His body is full of wobbly fat, bare breasts, and milk, like a Maitreya Buddha. This person is the first seat of the spirit pavilion, Chow Tai Fook. I've met the elders. Seeing that Zhou Dafu was lying on the lounger with a leisurely look, Ye Chen stepped forward and saluted him respectfully. Xiaohua, I haven't seen you. Glancing at Ye Chen, Zhou Dafu sat up, his small eyes focused, and Ye Chen looked up and down. I'm a new apprentice disciple. Ye Chen handed over his jade card. Elder Xing Yi asked me to choose a magic weapon. Chow Tai Fook took the jade card, looked it over and over, then threw it to Ye Chen at will, laid back lazily, waved his hand, and said, Go in and choose for yourself. Interns can only choose on the first floor. Don't sneak up to the second floor. Quote. Ye Chen received the jade card and walked into the depths of the Lingyi Pavilion. The ground floor is large enough, with a circle of several thousand feet, and various types of weapons are placed. There are really all kinds of weapons in the 18th category, and each of them is shining with luster, like blossoming flowers. Flowers. Sure enough, they are all low level. Ye Chen glanced over most of them, and Ye Chen was slightly disappointed. As an intern student, he could only choose a spiritual implement on the first floor. Thinking to himself, Ye Chen held up a ghost-headed sword, then shook his head, it's too light. Put down the sword, and picked up a spirit sword. Although this sword is sharp, Ye Chen returned to his original position. Picking and picking all the way, Ye Chen is like a grocery purchaser. Although there are many magical tools here, but after a long walk, I have not found a magical tool that I can fancy. If I put it in the past, these magical tools he ignored it directly, but now it is not the same as before, and he can only find in this pile of low-level artifacts. Nearing the end of the lap, Ye Chen still had nothing to gain. However, at this moment, his real fire in Danhai trembled, and a thin flame of hair was split out and flew out. Ye Chen was a little dazed, and hurried to follow him until he came to a stone platform. On the stone platform, there was a black iron sword. Perhaps it hadn't moved for a long time, so it was covered with dust, and the trace of real fire, wrapped around this iron sword. Surprised in his heart, Ye Chen had already grasped the hilt of the iron sword, a magical weapon that could be seen by real fire, and he also wanted to take a closer look. However, Ye Chen seemed to underestimate the weight of the iron sword, and he didn't pick it up in a breath. At least 200 pounds. Ye Chen estimated the weight of the iron sword in his heart. It is no wonder that it would lie here alone. The weight of 200 pounds is not for fun, and ordinary disciples can't pick it up. Even if you can afford it, you have to be full of energy. If you take it to fight with others, you won't be killed by yourself. However, because of this, he became more interested in the iron sword. Running slightly infuriatingly, he picked up the iron sword and gently blown the dust off. On facing Ye Chen, he felt a breath of vicissitudes of time, and also returned two ancient words on the hilt of the sword, Tianyi. Heaven. A murmur, Ye Chen looked carefully at the iron sword. The iron sword has never been sharpened, it is much wider than the general spirit sword, and its material is not visible. It only knows that it is extremely thick. On the sword body, there are many runes that Ye Chen cannot understand, and it is very old. It's a strange sword, Ye Chen muttered in a low voice, secretly saying that this unopened iron sword has such a weight, if it is not specified to cut people, but if you hit people, it is a good choice. Just you. Ye Chen carried the iron sword on his shoulder and walked outside. Not far away came Cho Teifu's frivolous whisper, Little boy, you little figure, what is not good, you have to choose such an iron sword. Quang dang. Ye Chen came, and when she heard it, she put down the iron sword. The iron sword was too heavy, and half of the sword body was obliquely inserted into the ground. Elder, what's the origin of this sword? Ye Chen asked, pointing at Tian Zhangjian, this is not normal weight. This is it. Chow Tai Fook squeezed his mustache and groaned for a moment before he said, it was already here when I took over this Lingyi pavilion. I would say that it has been here for at least 100 years. I do and know the origin. Quote. That's it. I urge you to change to another magic weapon. This iron sword is not so heavy. Choose a lightweight one. No, just leave it. Ye Chen smiled and stroked the iron sword gently. Stubborn little guy, carry it. Elder Xie. Ye Chen paid a respectful gift again, and then walked out of the lingering pavilion with Tiana. As soon as I left the house, we received a surprised look. The disciples passed by in twos and threes, first glanced at Ye Chen, and then looked at the celestial sword carried by Ye Chen. Who is this kid? I haven't seen him. Is he a new apprentice? The sword he was carrying was supposed to be Tiana. It seems that the strength is not small. Even if Shouwei is a little weaker, his brain may not be normal. Ye Chen ignored these people's discussions directly. He had a feeling that this day's sword is very simple. Compared with those low-level spirits, he is more willing to choose this sword and carry it on his body every day. Help practice. Yeah, the people of Zhengyangzong. I don't know who it was, and there was a whisper, and everyone around him looked at the sky. There was another huge flying sword, 3 people standing on it, a middle-aged beautiful woman, a beautiful beauty, and a handsome young man. Why did the people of Zhengyangzong come to my Hengyazong? Someone asked in doubt. You don't know about it. In 3 months, there will be 3 big comparisons between Zhengyangzong, Xingyanzong and I. Hengyuzong. Zhengyangzong came, and it seems that they are discussing the big comparison. That female disciple is so beautiful, like a fairy daughter. The discussions of people around him didn't hear Ye Chen's words. His eyes were already on the sky, and more accurately on the beautiful woman on Fei Jian. Her clothes were fluttering, otherwise she was as dusty as the world. Yi Xian, immaculate. She, isn't it Jining Shuang of Zhengyang sect? I didn't expect to meet so soon. Ye Chen murmured, and there were complex and indifferent eyes in the dark and deep eyes. I will kill back someday. Perhaps Shu felt that someone was looking at herself. Jining Shuang on Feijian couldn't help looking back, but at this moment, Ye Chen had disappeared into the crowd. So familiar. Jining Shuang whispered, "What's wrong, sister?" "It's all right." Chapter 6. Mystery Burning Sky. Ye Chen has found a small hill. The trees here are lush and the flowers are lush, but compared with the 3 main peaks, this small hill is not ordinary. Call. Breathing out in a breath, Ye Chen inserted the Tianjian sword in front of him, then cut through his fingers, and dropped a drop of blood on it, which is a magical weapon, and naturally recognizes the Lord. Soon, blood was incorporated into the nature. Of course, Tiana immediately trembled, a flash of blue light flashed, and then a huge message came into his mind with aggressiveness. Well, the sudden sting in his head made Ye Chen hug his head suddenly and growl. However, the pain comes quickly and so does the pain. After a while, Ye Chen shook his head, the blue tendons on his forehead slowly dissipated, and some dizzy eyes became clear. Instead, an irresistible ecstasy appeared on his face. Very wild refining body. Ye Chen's breath was a little sharp. He was so ecstatic because of a secret technique hidden in the sword that day, and because of his confession of the Lord, he triggered the seal in the sword of the heaven and released the secret technique called the barren refined body. It's a treasure. Shengsheng depressed his excitement, and Ye Chen hurriedly sat on the ground with her knees crossed, quietly comprehending the mystery of the mystery. Through enlightenment, Ye Chen found that the wild body is a mystery of tempering the flesh. Refining bones and extracting bones, calcining tendons and veins, burning heart and quenching blood, dermabrasion and filing. Ye Chen never found that when he spoke, his heart was fluttering, but these few 16 words were the best interpretation of the wild body. That's right, this is the wild refining body. Calcining is every inch of human skin, every bone, every vein. It is the method of thoroughly refining the body, and the pain caused by practicing this secret technique. Not inferior to Ling Qi's torture. This is a secret method created by some lunatic. Ye Chen opened his eyes, but his mouth was full of tongues. This wildly refining technique is absolutely overbearing. However, after stunning his tongue, Ye Chen's eyes glowed with fiery light. Although the barren refining body has to bear the pain that ordinary people cannot bear, the benefits after refining the body are also extremely horrible. Cultivation to the end can create a body that is not bad, and push the mountains and the sea. Moreover, this mystery is not practiced by anyone, and those who need to cultivate must have fire inherently. Ye Chen realized that the wild refining body was tailor-made for him, and the wild refining body was obtained, which is also the fixed number in the meditation. He has a domineering flame in his body and has unique conditions. Since God has given me you, naturally I will not let you be buried. In secret, Ye Chen has decided to cultivate the secret method of this wild body. Take a deep breath and slowly close your eyes. For a quarter of an hour to adjust his breath and comprehend, he secretly operated the barbaric refining method that was already known to him. Click it. Once the body-building secrets were in operation, the sound of bone collisions was heard in Ye Chen's body, and the Danhai fairy fire raged all over the body. Wow! The sudden pain caused him to growl. Ha, ha, ha. Soon, such sounds continued. Ye Chen, who was under severe pain, did not realize that the 720 acupoints in his body had been continuously smashed. The acupuncture points were strongly opened. The continuation of bone refining has also been opened up. Well, Ye Chen screamed in his teeth, his whole body up and down, every bone and every inch of skin, as if torn. The pain almost made him pass out. Click it, click it. That section of bone began to break inch by inch, and then continued slowly after the break, and then broke again during the break, so reciprocating, the bone continued to form a cycle of continuation and break. Ye Chen's forehead was exposed, his dark eyes were bloodshot all over his eyes, and his entire body seemed to be pierced with tens of steel needles. 3 hours later, he was generally free and fell to the ground. The first refining almost cost his own life, but also barely operated a small Sunday. This is a fate. Ye Chen gasped heavily, sweating, and his face was bloodless. But Rao is so, he still has ecstatic excitement in his eyes. He understands that refining does not happen overnight. It requires endless years of exercise. It is an extremely difficult road to be born in the blood of tears and pain. Strongly supporting her body to sit up again, Ye Chen began to look inside her body. Sure enough, his refining body was not without return. I saw that his rough bones had already fallen off and became smooth and tough. On the bones, there was a ray of Jinwei lingering, which was very strange. Looking at the body's surface, it is full of black impurities, which are excretions produced by the body, as well as a series of foul odors. The breeze blew in through the gaps in the doors and windows, and Ye Chen felt relieved. Then, the thin aura between the heavens and the earth began to converge, and the acupuncture points and pores in his body followed, and he swallowed the aura of the heavens and the earth, helping him nourish the bones and veins, and heal the flaws above. Consumption of the body made Ye Chen very greedy. The whale swallowed the aura of heaven and earth, and the pain of the whole body gradually disappeared. Being in the vortex of heaven and earth, it was like the warmth of the winter moon and the warmth of the sun. It worked really well in vain. Ye Chen clenched his fist gently and felt the physical body become stronger. At this moment, not only vision, hearing, speed, and strength have improved. At this moment, even every corner of the body, there is a strange stream of power flowing, making him more energetic. After a while, Ye Chen turned over and jumped up. He took out the unyielding liquid from his arms, and poured a whole bottle of unyielding liquid into his mouth. At this moment, if anyone is here, it will definitely stop, because the unyielding is made by extracting the essence of many spirit grasses, which contains majestic spermatozoa. Take it with caution. A whole bottle will be poured into it, otherwise it will break Dantian. However, such concerns are completely negligible to Ye Chen. You must know that Ye Chen does not have Dantian but Danhai at the moment, and the capacity is not ordinary. Mo said that it is a bottle of jade liquid. Even if he filled 180 bottles, it would not break his Danhai. When the unyielding liquid entered the body, Ye Chen felt like a clear stream flowing across all the meridians in the body, refreshing and refreshing, nourishing the painful meridian bones, exhausted and quickly dissipating. But at this moment, Ye Chen began to realize a problem, that is such a huge Danhai capacity. Danhai's capacity is far from comparable to Dantian's. But this means that his advancement speed is also much slower than that of his peers. I don't know if it is a blessing or a curse to open up the Danhai at this moment. 3 hours later, Ye Chen took a breath and jumped on a rock, holding her head in her hands and quietly looking up at the starry sky. She couldn't help feeling. Only a day ago, he was kicked out of the Zhengyang sect and was made homeless by him. He got a fairy fire by coincidence, and was brought to Hang Yizong by chance. He became a disciple of Heng Yizong. A dreamlike feeling. Is it good fortune? Ye Chen sighed, but couldn't hide the irony in his eyes. After clearing my thoughts, my mind began to figure out the next practice. Danhai's large capacity has given him many benefits, but also brought many disadvantages. That is, the advancement is too difficult. Although the intern disciple can receive a bottle of jade syrup from Zongmin every month, but for him this as far as the Big Stomach King is concerned, the bottle of Yuling liquid is not enough for him to plug his teeth. In this way, greater efforts must be made, and they cannot be treated with ordinary cultivation. Ye Chen thought of the tasks in Zongmin. Whenever the tasks published by Zongmin have rich rewards, on the one hand, they can also motivate the disciples to practice. In Zhengyang sect, they often take on tasks. Heng Yizong's tasks are similar to those in Zhengyang. With a decision in mind, Ye Chen slowly closed her eyes and hugged the heavens, and soon afterwards she fell into a dreamland. Chapter 7. Find Fault. The next day, the glory of the morning sun filled Heng Yizong. Ye Chen walked down the hillside and trot all the way to the mission hall. His arrival attracted a lot of attention, on the one hand, because of Ye Chen's face, and on the other, because Ye Chen's condensate was heavily cultivated as the Tianjian Ape. Heavy air is heavy, and his talent is too bad. As soon as he walked in, Heng Yu disciple glanced at Ye Chen disdainfully. I also chose Tiana to be a magic weapon. I'm really full. Seriously suspected that his head was flooded. Ye Chen didn't care about other people's discussions. He stared straight at the stone erection in the mission cabinet, which was covered with small jade cards. Each jade card represented a task. From low to high, the task became more and more difficult. With Danhai, the blessing of the body, and the real fire protection, I have enough strength to regret the monsters below the 5th level. While looking at each task on the stele, Ye Chen was secretly assessing his strength. In the end, his eyes finally fell on a jade card, which was a relatively lower task. Within his ability, Blood Wolf. Blood Wolf, Ye Chen has seen it on the treasured beast spectrum. It is extremely fierce. Its strength is equivalent to the triple condensate of a human monk. It has a fierce flesh. The general condensed state cannot break his defense. General, the monks were unwilling to provoke it. Just you. Ye Chen was about to reach for the jade card, but his white palm was almost one step away from him. The task of the Blood Wolf, I took it from Zhao Long. The faint laughter was clear in Ye Chen's ears, and his words were provocative and abusive. Ye Chen subconsciously bowed his head and saw a young boy wearing a purple dress beside him. He was born with a handsome person, with thick black hair, flowing like a waterfall, but there was a playful smile that made him extremely disgusted. Why, don't you agree? The disciple named Zhao Long raised his chin high, and even Ye Chen's eyes were tilted. Brother took it. Ye Chen was too lazy to discuss with him. His eyes were on the stone monument again, looking for other tasks again, and finally fancy in killing blood wolves a level of tasks, but also killing monsters. It was just that he was about to reach out and Zhao Long took off the jade first. I took this task too. Zhao Long's laughter sounded again, not forgetting to cast a provocative look at Ye Chen. Ye Chen glanced at Zhao Long, but still forbore Ed. His eyes were again on the stele, and he was looking for another task, but like the previous 2 times, he was about to pick it up, and a white palm took him one step ahead. This task is also mine. Zhao Long still shot, and his chin was raised high, which meant more provocation. Ye Chen frowned. He could see that this Zhao Long was not here to take on the task, but to find out the differences. Otherwise, so many disciples took up the task, why has he grabbed Ye Chen's task? This brother, I have nothing to do with you, why is it difficult for me? Ye Chen stared at Zhao Long. Ye Chen originally thought that when he first came to Heng Yizong, everything needed to be low-key and never take the initiative to cause trouble, but this did not mean that he was afraid of things. Zhao Long in front of him was obviously directed at him. Chen's nature will never be troubled in vain. Nothing to do, humming. Zhao Long snorted coldly, you hit my little brother, dare to say that it doesn't matter to me. Are you brave? My dad, Zhao Long, you dare to bully, really suspects have grown. Quote. As soon as this remark came out, Ye Chen understood it. He had roughly guessed who was the younger brother in Zhao Long's mouth. Except for Zhang Dao, who fell yesterday, he really couldn't think of anyone else. In this way, Zhao Long came to help Zhang Dao get angry. It is worthy of Zhao Long's younger brother. Compared with Zhang Dao, Zhao Longshu is a lot stronger, but also more arrogant than Zhang Dao. Suddenly, Zhao Long's hand was already on Ye Chen's shoulder. Immediately, a force of perseverance poured into Ye Chen's body, colliding rashly in him. Ye Chen frowned, but it was calm and relative. Dan Hai burst out with anger, and gave out the vitality of Zhao Long. Junqi was topped out. Although Zhao Long was a little surprised, his playful smile was even better. Boy, I really looked down on you. It was he who took the shot first and could not blame me. Ye Chen looked indifferent. He could knock Zhang Dao down, and he would not be afraid of Zhao Long, because Zhao Long's cultivation is only 5-pointed. If he really opened his arms, he may not lose. Okay, good. Zhao Long clapped and applauded. I like people who don't have the strength and who are ****** tough. With that said, his body surface had already flowed with anger, and quite a blow made Ye Chen lie on his side. Seeing this, Ye Chen wouldn't show weakness, and when his thoughts moved, Dan Hai's anger burst out frantically. The smell of gunpowder was strong, and immediately attracted the onlookers of the surrounding disciples. This is going to fight. He is so heavy. This boy dare to fight with Zhao Long, take the wrong medicine. Are you going to rebel? A loud drink came from the inside, and the elder in charge of the mission court came out, filled with majesty. This is the mission pavilion. I can't tolerate you and want to fight to Fengyuntai, get out. Some elders were frightened. Of course, Zhao Long did not dare to make trouble again, and even Ye Chen obediently accepted his anger. Boy, find your account sooner or later. With a cold smile, Zhao Long did not forget that he threatened Ye Chen fiercely when he left. I'm waiting. Slight words spit out of his mouth. Ye Chen flashed a cold light in his eyes, turned around again, glanced at the steel, and picked a jade card from above. It was the task of killing the fire wolf. Hi. After receiving the mission jade card, Ye Chen followed the walk out of the mission cabinet, but he knew that in the next few days, it would be difficult to practice peacefully. Out of the mission hall, Ye Chen went straight down the mountain. While passing by the little spirit garden, Ye Chen went in and looked at Zhang Fengnian. It's you. Let me feel the warmth again, let me understand, I still have someone to protect. With a smile on the corner of his mouth, Ye Chen walked down Lingshan, giving him a better vision for a new beginning. He need to work for this vision and protect the people he wants to protect. Heng Yizong has a forest of monsters more than 10 miles away, and Heng Yizong's mission to kill monsters is mostly directed there. After simply recognizing the direction, Ye Chen tightened the rope tightly tied to the Tianjian sword, and then headed towards the monster forest. An hour later, in front of a dense mountain forest, Ye Chen stopped panting breathlessly. The monster forest was vast, lush, and the old trees in the jungle were towering. Just standing here can clearly practice the violent and ***** gas that escapes from the inside. Working. Ye Chen took a hard breath and stepped into the monster forest. Chapter 8. Jedi Strike. Roar. As soon as Ye Chen stepped into the monster forest, he heard the roar of the monster. With a high concentration of mental strength, Ye Chen walked carefully into the depths. Now, compared with the past, in this crisis-ridden monster forest, there is always the danger of losing his life. Rao is the former him, and dare not care at all. Half an hour later, Ye Chen stopped on a rock. Standing at a high place, Ye Chen's eyes looked around for a moment, and he was attracted by glowing spirit grass on the rock wall not far away. That spirit is glowing with purple light, there is an aura lingering, the name is purple ginseng. Ye Chen is very familiar with this herb. After taking it, it has a good effect on stabilizing the mind and eliminating distractions. It is a rare elixir. Luck is really good, Ye Chen murmured, but didn't leave immediately. From his experience, he naturally knew that wherever there is a grass, there must be monsters. Sure enough, when Ye Chen looked around, the sound of rustling rustle came from the lush mountain forest, and then ***** and violent air came out, and the earth shuddered. Suddenly, Ye Chen's eyes narrowed slightly. Soon, the lush forest clumps dumped to both sides, and a behemoth rushed out, more than a foot tall, full of purple flames, and a pair of huge blood-red pupils, showing all the violence and bloodthirsty. The fire wolf, seeing the behemoth, Ye Chen sneered at the corner of his mouth, is looking for you. Roar. Here, the fire wolf had roared loudly, the blood basin opened wide, and a purple flame was emitted. Seeing this, Ye Chen pointed at the rock on his toes, and jumped out instantly, then suddenly turned back by a boulder rebounding. The golden sword breath that had been condensed out immediately, the target pointed directly at the fire wolf's pupil. He has killed the fire wolf more than once. He knows that the fire wolf is strong in body and extremely strong in flames, but the weak point is his eyes. To treat such a thick-skinned monster that can control the flames, all he needs is a hit. Ha! The golden sword gas rustled and pierced the air. Puff, puff, with the stink blood splattering, and then the fire wolf screamed fiercely, its huge pupil was already blurred in flesh and blood. Hum! The dull sound of tetanus sounded. Ye Chen had already held Tianxin with both hands and smashed into the head of the fire wolf. It was a heavy blow. The fire wolf's skull was smashed with flesh and blood. Ye Chen was also shocked by his hands. The swords were all flying out of Chen. However, because of this severe blow, the fire wolf was smashed, and even stood still. Take your life while you are sick. Ye Chen knew this very well, and in 2 or 3 steps, he came close again. His vital energy gathered in the palm of his hand, and thunder and lightning broke between his fingers. Ben lay, with Ye Chen yelling, his volleyed palm slaps firmly on the head of the fire wolf. Puff! The head of the fire wolf exploded on the spot, his brain was wanton, and the stench of blood splattered out immediately. His huge body fell to the ground, and it might be wondering until he died. He was actually knocked down by a heavy monk. Call! Ye Chen spit out with a long breath, but his tight body was not stretched at all. This is indeed not the same as before. He has only a heavy gas and has limited strength. Although he has not been fighting the fire wolf for a long time, it is dangerous and dangerous. Inadvertently, it will become a wolf belly Chinese food. Without stopping, Ye Chen opened the skull of the fire wolf, and took out a small **** stone from it. The small stone was very irregular, and the surface was pitted. At this moment, there was still stinky blood dripping on it. This is the beast element of the blood wolf. As for the beast element, that is the essence of the beast, and it is also the most precious place for the beast. The monk killed the beast, mostly for the beast element. The beast element contains too much essence, and the monk takes it, which is very beneficial to cultivation. The task is complete. Ye Chen wiped the blood on the beast element and shoved it into his arms. He never expected the task to be completed so quickly. Okay. His brows frowned, and there was only a cold sting in his back. Suddenly in his heart, Ye Chen backed sharply. But the speed is still slow. The 3 silver needles have pierced the air. Although he tried his best to avoid it, he still succeeded. The 3 silver needles were inserted into his arm regardless of the sequence. The silver needles are highly toxic. His eyes soon opened, and before his third breath, his entire arm turned black. Dignity Yuan, even sneak attack. Spit of blood, Ye Chen backed up, covering her arms, looked coldly at the lush jungle. Boy, you have a good sense. The grinning voice came from the jungle. The next moment, a humpbacked old man in a gray coat came out, holding a cane, pock full of faces, and wrinkled skin were almost piled up. His eyes were deep, and those blood-red eyes were more creepy like a viper. This suffocation is very heavy. At first glance, it is a wicked person who specializes in killing and overdoing goods. Everything you should hand over. Leave you a whole body, or I will make you worse than death. The old man smiled faintly, showing his yellow teeth. I'm so heavy, what can I have? Ye Chen said coldly, his eyes started to feel dizzy. On the arm, the poison contained in the 3 poisonous needles was specially sacrificed and spread very fast. It didn't take long before most of his meridians and bones were corroded. It seems you are very disobedient. The old man grinned fiercely, already walking slowly, palms and black mist lingering. Capsized in the gutter, Ye Chen hated his teeth itchingly. The old man with a humpback in front of him looked like a master who used poison, and he was so serious in the realm of human beings that he had a big difference. Ye Chen thought that even if he was not poisoned, he couldn't do it. Alas! Of course, at this moment, the golden fire of the Danhai even trembled, divided into dozens of channels and channeled into Ye Chen's meridians and bones, and those toxins were even refined by it. Can this also be refined? Ye Chen looked inside his body in a hurry. Ye Chen was a little surprised. However, although the poison had been refined, he remained motionless. The reason why he is still in place is to prepare the old man to give him a thunder when his defense is lax, and repair it to be absolutely suppressed. If he fought directly, he thinks there is no possibility of winning. However, if it suddenly hits it, it will be hard to say. Little baby, don't blame Grandpa. The old man has arrived, eyes full of vicious light, obviously a big evil person, but he wants to show a look of compassion. I don't blame you. Han Guang suddenly appeared, a sneer appeared in the corner of Ye Chen's mouth. Seeing this, the old man with a humpback frowned. Ben Lei, with a sudden drink, Ye Chen, who was still, shot fiercely. You are. The old man was shocked and wanted to avoid, but the short distance and Ye Chen shot so quickly that he had no response at all. Ye Chen was sturdy and sturdy. Hit on the chest. Pedaling backwards, there is still shock in the eyes of the hunched old man. How could he think that Ye Chen could solve the poison in such a short period of time, and even gave him such a great show of Jedi counterattack? Ben Lei, with a single blow, Ye Chen hissed again. The humpbacked old man who has not yet stood still has no time to defend, but he is thrown back by the vomiting blood of Ye Chen. Ye Chen was so angry that he didn't give him time to breathe, like a fierce beast, and his head was covered with a few palms of thunder. The humpbacked old man tried several times during the period, but Ye Chen didn't give him any time to react. Puff! With the ordinary cold knife inserted into the chest of the humpbacked old man, he lay down with his head up and wanted to talk, but as soon as he opened his mouth, blood poured out, and there was a shock in his eyes, which he had never expected before death. He would be killed by a junior with a heavy breath. On the other side, Ye Chen also swayed to her knees on the ground. Successively used Ben Lei's palm to exhaust his energy, but it is worthwhile to kill the old man who has been cultivated in this realm. I am afraid that even before, he had never had such a brilliant record. Although he relied on sneak attacks, he was proud of himself. Without a stop, Ye Chen got up and didn't dare to delay. He took the old man's storage bag, put on his back, and hurriedly rushed into the jungle. He did not forget to remove the purple ginseng before leaving. Grass. Chapter 9. Beast Rage. Looking for a cave, Ye Chen climbed into it with difficulty. Soon, he took out the old humpbacked storage bag. I have to say that as a human being, the humpbacked old man's collection is quite rich. Without having time to look at other things, Ye Chen grabbed a few bottles of spiritual fluid, and all of his head was poured into his belly. At this moment, Danhai dried up and continued to add Jingyuan. This monster forest is in danger, and he needs to maintain the peak state at all times. The spiritual fluid, like a cool spring, quickly flowed through the body. The real fire of Danhai also moved at the same time, helping Ye Chen to refine the spiritual fluid into the body, and the innocence of tempering poured into Danhai. Ye Chen's pale face was also ruddy with the speed visible to the naked eye. Stand up. After a long time, Ye Chen's Danhai filled once again, and the rolling golden color was like the ocean. However, he still failed to break through to the second weight of Ningxi. Advancement is really difficult. Secretly pursed his tongue, Ye Chen opened his eyes. Although not advanced, but a few bottles of spiritual fluid are not for nothing, Ye Chen clearly felt that the power has become much stronger. Hey, with a sigh, Ye Chen set his gaze on the humpbacked old man's storage bag again. Because the advanced process consumes too much spiritual fluid, there are only 3 or 4 bottles of spiritual fluid in the storage bag. The other is the monk's currency. There are as many as 500 spirit stones, which can be considered a small fortune. In addition to these, it is a pile of evil poisons, with dozens of bottles piled up, Ye Chen's tongue that keeps watching. It's always going to be used. Ye Chen didn't destroy these poisons in case he needed them in the future, maybe he would use them sometime. After rummaging for a while, all that remained in the storage bag was a pile of low-level artifacts. It wasn't until a yellowed-out ancient book made his eyes bright that the three big characters on it should be seen: Beast Heart Anger. Xuanshu. Ye Chen's eyes were hot, which was what he lacked most. Counting it down, plus Zhengyang sect and Heng Yizong at this time, the mysticism he knows only has the most basic imperial qi and that overbearing Ben Lei Pong. Royal qi is the most basic means of monks. It is okay to face ordinary enemies. It is not very useful when encountering strong enemies. The power of Ben Lei is not weak, but it is too expensive, so what Ye Chen lacks at the moment is mysticism. What do you really want? Thinking to myself, Ye Chen had opened the ancient book, and couldn't wait to see the beast's anger. After studying it, Ye Chen found out that the beast was angry because it was an introduction to moves, and more precisely, it was a fighting style. I do and know, I was shocked at first glance. This beast is divided into 6 articles, but the first 3 articles are about the cooperation of human body parts and how to cooperate to maximize the power. As for the last 3, they are the real skills. The reason why it is called Beast Heart Anger is naturally related to the beast. The predecessor who created the beast's anger must be good at observing it, because the beast's anger comes from the beast. He thoroughly grasped the beast's fluttering, grasping, hitting and other skills. This imitated the beast and created the beast's anger. Most of the beast's fights are based on primitive flesh. People should sometimes learn from them. The cooperation of the legs, feet, hands, and knees will allow them to exert close combat while maximizing their strength. Coupled with his increasingly powerful body, it will definitely have unexpected results. Zan Miao, really Zan Miao. Ye Chen couldn't help but admire. As he looked down, his mood was sublimated. Too many monks cultivate, rely too much on infuriating, and worship the gorgeous mystic forms too much, thus ignoring the most primitive fighting techniques, so that most monks are not low in cultivation, but close combat is a mess. I found the treasure again. Ye Chen laughed loudly, patted the ground, jumped up, and the practice method of Beast Heart Anger was already imprinted on her mind. As soon as he shouted, Ye Chen punched out immediately, then turned around and swept the legs, followed by a slanting split. A set of actions in one go. Immediately, Ye Chen's movements became faster and faster, sometimes like a wolf leaping at a rabbit, sometimes like a tiger flying up, and sometimes an ape jumping quickly. The action was weird, but it included many murderous beasts. Ye Chen didn't use her qi, she only used the limbs of her body, and while the body continued to stretch, she realized the mystery of the beast's anger. This exercise is 9 hours. Until night fell, Ye Chen sat down sweating on the ground. In the next few days, Ye Chen did not return to Heng Yizong, but carried out a hard practice against close combat. During the day, he jumped out of the cave and battled with the mighty monster beast. He was transformed in actual combat. Every time he came out, he was covered with blood. When the night comes, go to the mountain with rich aura to nourish the body, and then practice the secret burning method. Ye Chen was surprised to find that another unique feature of this wild refining body was that he could heal the wounds in the refining body, and the speed of recovery was much faster than before. Change day and night, reincarnation. Over the next few days, Ye Chen gradually realized the essence of the beast's anger. In the constant struggle, the physical strength also reached a new peak, giving him a confidence to confront the peak of Ningxi. In short, the anger of the beast is a kind of good fortune. It was another starry night. Ye Chen stretched a lazy waist, appeared at the entrance of the cave, and after coming out for a few days, he planned to go back tonight. Okay. Ye Chen, who was about to jump into the mountain forest, frowned, and looked up at the night sky. There was a Cheng Hong coming in from the sky. It was only after a short distance that she was a woman in white. Empty underworld. Ye Chen trembled in his heart. A monk. If a monk who is in a state of condensed spirit and a human being wants to go to the sky, he needs to mount a flying beast. A monk in the realm of the sun needs to control the flying sword. When he reaches the spiritual realm, he can control the rainbow. Only in order to reach the empty realm, you can really do the flying without the help of spirit beasts, flying swords and Shenhong. The woman in white could fly in the air, indicating that Shu Wei had reached the sky. Shocked, Ye Chen saw the appearance of the woman in white. What a nice view. At this instant, Ye Chen had a momentary encounter. The woman's clothes were fluttering, White clothes were victorious in snow, 3,000 blues were flowing like water, sparkling rays of light, a peerless look, beautiful and suffocating, as if she were an ordinary fairy, and did not mess with the world. However, the condition of the white woman was not very good. When passing through this void, the speed suddenly decreased, and her brilliance was almost annihilated. Shoot it! Ye Chen's eyes narrowed slightly, only to find that there were still 3 people behind the woman in white, and each of them was walking in the air. Needless to say that the cultivation was at least empty. Going is the best policy. Ye Chen realized that this place could not stay. But as soon as he moved his footsteps, the woman in white fell into the void, drawing a graceful arc in the air, falling in front of him. Puff! A spit of blood spit out, and the woman in white hurriedly glanced at Ye Chen, then turned and hid in the lush jungle. The whole person's breath had converged. Ye Chen stood here without even feeling any fluctuations in her. Behind him, the 3 men who followed them came quickly, a gray-haired old man, a middle-aged man in a python robe, and a young man in a white robe. Boy, do you see anyone passing by? The white robe youth stared at Ye Chen. Ye Chen's heart was stunned. She didn't dare to move at all, and her whole body seemed to be transparent in the eyes of the white robe youth. What do you want to say? The middle-aged man in the purple robe sang loudly. Towards. In that direction. Ye Chen pointed at random in any direction, and it was right to let them go anyway. Don't let me find out that you lied to me, or you'll die terribly. Chasing. The gray-haired elder ordered, and the 3 set foot in the void again. She was seriously injured, and she was hit by Acacia again. She couldn't run too far. If she caught her, the first adult would be happy. Call. After the 3 men left, Ye Chen exhaled heavily, and his whole body seemed to be out of force. Soon, the hiding white woman stumbled out, with an extremely embarrassed appearance, blurred eyes, pale face like paper, and a sluggish breath, even shaking. A breeze blew, and the woman in white fell down after all. Hey! Ye Chen didn't intend to manage it, but she stepped out 1 step and dragged it off as the white woman was about to fall to the ground. Chapter 10. Cave Candle. The night sky is deep, and broken stars are like dust. Ye Chen, carrying the woman in white, went deep into the monster forest and found an extremely secret cave. A faint bonfire was burning in the dark cave. The woman in white was lying obliquely on the wall of the cave, still in a coma, pale and painful. She was a real monk in the underworld, but at this moment she was more like a weak woman and arousing pity. Beside, Ye Chen was quietly conveying her anger to her, and she sometimes glanced at the woman in white. He was determined that this was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, none of it. Some of them were drunk, but Ye Chen had never noticed that her face was already red. It's hot, he murmured softly from the white woman's mouth, interrupting Ye Chen's drunkenness. Suddenly, the white woman's eyelashes fluttered, her eyes slowly opened, her eyes were watery and hazy, her body twisted a bit, her white jade hands slid around her body, tearing her coat. Senior, you wake up, Without saying a word, Ye Chen's mouth was blocked by the fragrant lips. Suddenly, Ye Chen froze, her lips were silky and delicate, with a pleasant aroma, making him feel as numb as electric shock. Senior, a moment of soberness, let Ye Chen gently push away the woman in white. Hot, it's hot, the white woman murmured again, her soft body was directly attached, the jade arm surrounded and hugged his neck, and the lustrous scent of lips came to Ye Chen's mouth again, sometimes biting gently, was licked by a sticking tongue on his lips. Aside, Ye Chen had already grasped the jade arm of the woman in white with one hand, and her fingers moved on her pulse. Heihuan-san. With a frown, Ye Chen could understand why she showed such a charming gesture, and she also understood more about the existence of Heihuan-san. Regardless of men and women, once they were recruited, they must have **** with each other, otherwise they would break their veins. Die. The means are really enough. Ye Chen thought of the 3 people who hunted down the woman in white, needless to say that they were poisoned. Oh, the woman in white murmured, her body was hot, and it seemed that she could no longer suppress the toxicity of Heihuan-san. A flush of cheeks appeared on her cheeks, and her delicate body rubbed Ye Chen's body. The incense tongue was a predatory invasion in Ye Chen's mouth. Agitated. At this moment, rouse Ye Chen's determination is a little bit amused. The woman in white was so seductive that Ye Chen's mouth was dry, and the blood speeded up, and a scent of aroma rushed in front of him. The sweet smell in his mouth drunk him, and a wicked fire in his lower abdomen suddenly grew. It's stabbing. The woman in white ripped off her shirt, exposing her white and soft body, and every inch of skin was shining with a charming luster. She seemed to have lost her mind. Her eyes contained water mist, and the toxicity of acacia powder inspired her most. The original desire, what I want at this moment, is Ye Chen in front of me. Give me, give me. The cool and silky jade hand took off Ye Chen's shirt, and the lush jade fingers flicked on the thick chest. At this moment, I am afraid that no normal man can resist this temptation. Looking at Ye Chen again, his face was already flushed with red blood, his body was burning like fire, and the bath fire was rising, and a small tent was held up. Is this a test for me? Ye Chen shook his head, hoping to restore some sobriety, but he still couldn't escape his love. It was dark and the bonfire was swaying. It was hard to sleep overnight, and in this gloomy hole was doomed to a storm. At this moment, a group of uninvited guests ushered in the Xiaoling garden in Hangyizong. Old thing, hand over the boy. The leader was still Zhang Dao. His face was already sulking like a demon at night, and he was not good enough, so he led a group of disciples to seek revenge. And the spirit cursed that day, all surrendered. He's gone, and I don't have any celestial curse. Zhang Fengnian had been bruised all over and his speech was weak. I really don't see the coffin and shed tears. Hang it for me. The little spirit garden was very noisy, full of Zhang Dao's abnormal roar, and the little rabbit and the hairy bird were hanging up for Lao Su. Quote, I killed you. The dark and lonely monster forest was broken by a female voice. Although this voice is beautiful, it contains cold and murderous power. In the cave, a woman in white transformed into a crystal jade hand, clutching Ye Chen's neck, and held it up in the air. It seems that the poison of acacia in her body has been resolved, but there is still a piece of tide on the cheek. She woke up and couldn't accept this fact. There were a few pink glare under her skirt, and she was full of mess. Even if she didn't care about finishing her clothes, she couldn't stop the murder, and vowed to kill her virgin Ye Chen. You talked about unreasonable, you pounced over, you fell in love with acacia, and I saved you. Ye Chen couldn't help cursing, his face flushed, his hands and feet struggled, but still unable to escape bondage. That's why you take my chastity. The white eyes of the woman in white are full of water mist, reflecting the cold light. You crazy, mad woman, I knew I wouldn't save you. You still said, of course I have to say that you were on it when I was doing it. I haven't waited to turn around yet. I was upset by you. The white womanish chest bobbed violently, and in the minds of uncontested, the scene of Xianxia not long ago appeared. Is it true that Ye Chen said that she was on it from beginning to end? Thinking of this, the woman in white added a few more red clouds on her cheeks, shamed with anger, holding the jade hand on Ye Chen's neck, and subconsciously aggravated her strength. If she pinched her fingers, Ye Chen would die. Of course, at this moment, the void outside the cave had a strong breath approaching rapidly. The woman in white suddenly looked back, as if she could see three shadows coming through the hole covered by the branches. Huadu. The cold light flashed out of the white woman's mouth, the gorgeous Shenhua instantly covered her body, and a powerful momentum shook the cave. With a wave of the jade arm, Ye Chen was dropped on the ground. Come back and pack you. A cold glance at Ye Chen, the white woman flew out like a ***** rainbow, and then a glowing rope floated into the cave. Ye Chen, who had just got up, was given the spot by the glowing rope. Tied up. I trust. Ye Chen could not help but yelled. Ye Chen's face was dark, and he rolled around on the ground, doing his best, but still couldn't break the weird rope. If FA wants to escape, otherwise the crazy woman will come back and find me a bill. Thinking to herself, Ye Chen was very anxious, and God knew if the woman in white would come back to kill him. At the critical moment, Ye Chen had a flash of light and thought of the real fire of Danhai. Quick, help me. Sure enough, the real fire of the Danhai came out, turned into a trace, and wrapped around the glowing rope. Boom. Rumble. At this moment, a war has begun on the dark night sky. A long distance away, Ye Chen also clearly saw a mountain peak, which was collapsed by the palm of his hand. This was a confrontation between the strong and the mountains, sparse usually. Chu Ling, do you still needlessly struggle? In the void, the three great empty realms pinched back and forth, all eyes were full of obscene light. Make me pay for it. The wonderful voice was unusually cold, and the white woman named Chu Ling had her hands imprinted, and then she appeared gorgeously, gathered from the four sides, and transformed into a huge holy lotus. I can't help it. The white-robed young man sneered and was about to kill him, but was stopped by the gray-haired old man. There are many strong men approaching. It's Heng Yizong. Withdraw. The gray-haired old man ordered immediately. The three came fast and went fast, and disappeared into the night sky like three rainbows in an instant. Puff. The woman in white named Chu Ling spit out blood and was stunned, almost falling into the void. Linger. The sound of Piao Miao Tien Lai came from far and near, and she helped the white woman named Chu Ling. The comer also fluttered in white clothes, otherwise the world is dusty, lingering in the rays of light, like an extraordinary fairy, and like a blooming snow lotus, the world's beautiful face, the beauty is suffocating. However, it is strange that this woman looks exactly like Chu Ling. Well, there is only one explanation, that is, they are twins, her sister is Chu Zan, and her sister is Chu Ling. Then, the white woman named Chu Ling, needless to say, is also a person of Heng Yizong. I do and know if Ye Chen, who has escaped from the cave, knows whether he will vomit blood on the spot or not. What a scene! Perhaps, the other day in Heng Yizong, Ye Chen may meet his sister Chu Zan first. Void Shenhong continued. Heng Yizong's strong one arrived one after another, seeing Chu Ling's breath was weak, one after another instilled the essence of it. After a while, Chu Ling's breath stabilized. Brothers, you go back to the ancestor first. I still have something to do. Chu Ling hurriedly said a word, and Chu Ling went straight to the cave like a Changhong. Linger, your injury. Anyway, you guys are not allowed to follow. Chapter 11. Bristle. Late at night, Chu Ling found a whole circle in the lush monster forest, but did not see Ye Chen. Don't let me catch you, Chu Ling said resentfully, and the fragrant scene from a while ago reappeared in her mind, with flushing on her cheeks, and she was always known as a jade girl, how could she think that she would also call lewd? Ah, shamed to death. Lame, shy Chu Ling could not help covering his hot cheeks. Linger. There was a voice behind him. Because Chu Zan was not assured of Chu Ling, she followed him secretly, and when she approached, she found that Chu Ling was blushing, and could not help but be surprised. Quote. No, nothing. Chu Ling was indifferent, and her cheeks became hotter. Could she tell her sister that her sister had **** with someone? And that man was still a little monk who was so hard. The words come to mind, it is absolutely impossible to say. Then what are you looking for? Zhu Ling glanced puzzledly. Chu Zan didn't forget to look around. Can it be possible? Do you have a baby here? WH. Where is the baby? I just go around. You're lying. Ah, go back, Brother Zhang is still waiting for us. Feeling guilty, Chu Ling hurriedly pushed Chu Zan, but when leaving, did not forget to turn and glance at the direction of the cave. The two stood side by side, walking in the air, and soon disappeared. The night was dark and the forest of monsters fell into peace. I do not know when, in an unknown corner of this forest, a huge monster corpse squirmed. Then, a **** palm came out. This is a scary scene. Can a person swallowed up by a monster be alive? If you look closely, there is a big mouth in the lower part of the monster, and a blood man crawls out of it. This person, needless to say, is Ye Chen. All right, in order to avoid Chu Ling's pursuit, this uncle actually hides in the belly of the monster. If Chu Ling knows, I don't know if he will praise him. Call. He spit it out, and Ye Chen patted his chest fiercely. I almost lost my life. But remembering the scene of Xianxia not long ago, Ye Chen still coughed and touched the tip of his nose. Although his blood was strong, he still couldn't hide the aroma that Chu Ling left on him. The aroma was intoxicating. I still saved her life. Ye Chen coughed, and found a very good reason for herself. But when I think about it, it is inevitable that I feel a little guilty. After all, it is an empty world, so beautiful, even if it is passive, people lose their chastity, and it's difficult to accept who they are. When I meet this again, I can't rush everything up. After a short rest, Ye Chen looked at the sky, and tossing and fighting all night, it was almost dawn. I was afraid that the Chu Ling would kill and come back to look for it, so there was no pause, and he jumped up and jumped up. Ye Chen rushed into the forest quickly. Before he left, he did not forget to drag the monster corpse beside him. At this moment, the little spirit garden at the foot of Mount Hengyuzong is full of wailing sounds. Cry for Lao Su again. The sound of the evil voice sounded. Zhang Dao pulled out a black cloth from his arms, kneaded it into a ball, stuffed it into Hu Hua's mouth, and finally remembered to slap him into Hu Hua kicked and scolded, crying, "Why don't you cry? The tiger baby is really miserable. Since Zhang Dao brought someone yesterday, he has been hung for a whole day, and his body is covered with footprints. Zhang Dao, you have something to charge me." The old voice was weak, and Zhang Fengnian, who was also hung up, was much miserable. His body was covered with bloodstains left by a whip, and on the old face, there were red and swollen palm prints. He was old, his cloudy eyes, not even his dim eyes. "Come at you, okay," Zhang Dao sneered, and pulled the leather whip from his waist again. The momentum came, and the leather whip flew up in the air. Snapped. Every time the whip falls, Zhang Fengnian will have an extra blood mark on his body. "Let you not give me the Tianling curse, let you not give me the Tianling curse." With each fall of the whip, Zhang Dao growls loudly, like a lunatic, and can't wait to strip Zhang Fengnian's skin off. Ha! Seeing Zhang Fengnian's beating and gagged tiger baby, he shouted, his eyes were filled with tears. Ha! Even the little beak's spirit beast screamed. It was hung up, its wings were hooked by iron hooks, and it was bloody. In the little spirit garden, in addition to Zhang Dao, there are also 2 Hengyu disciples. Although Shu Wei is also a condensed gas double, but his breath is not as magnificent as Zhang Dao. Seeing Zhang Dao's dead hand, the 2 Hengyu disciples came forward to dissuade him. "Brother, pay attention to the size. Don't really kill him, or we will not blame it, but we can't afford it. A waste, who cares?" Zhang Dao spit. Zhang Fengnian glared resentfully, but finally stopped. But although he stopped, Zhang Dao still had a depressed mood in his heart. Zhang Fengnian couldn't fight anymore. He looked viciously at the hanging eagle bird and said, "Take it as a loved one. Lao Su wants today cook it in your presence, you too, and chop this dead bird for me." Quote. Okay. The 2 Hengyu disciples immediately rolled up their sleeves, had taken out the gloomy short knife, and went straight to the giant bird. It was a bit hungry after a long night of tossing. Zhang Fengnian's dim eyes gradually flashed through the cold mang, but every time he said a word, he spit out blood. Ha! The tiger baby was struggling violently, and his face was covered with tears. Although the little eagle is a low-level spirit beast, they are accompanied day and night, and they have long regarded it as a loved one. Now they want to watch their loved ones killed, and their hearts are like being stabbed. Of course, just when the 2 Hengyu disciples were about to start, the door of the Xiaoling garden was pushed open, and Ye Chen, who was full of blood, came in. "Senior, I'm back." Without saying a word, Ye Chen's words were choked, and he looked at everything in the garden. This is a ***** picture. Zhang Fengnian was hung in a ***** manner, and the tiger baby was also covered with scars and hung. Even the low-level spirit beast eagle was pierced by an iron hook. Yo, you really dare to come back. Seeing Ye Chen, Zhang Dao jumped up suddenly, drank with hate, and chuckled. Zhang Dao. The cold and clear voice spit out of Ye Chen's mouth, and the dark pupils instantly became blood red. He strode forward, and the monstrous murderous intention could no longer be restrained, and his expression was even more haggard than Zhang Dao. "No one can save you today." Chapter 12. Challenge Di Yangfeng Zhao Long. A big breath. Ye Chen was furious. Zhang Dao rushed over like a fierce beast. He thought of being seriously injured by Ye Chen's condensate a few days ago, and his face was a little distorted at the same time. It was still Yuyang Zhanqi, piercing the air, Zhang Dao seemed to be mad, waving his arms madly. Sword chi came on. Ye Chen did not hide, like a tiger rushing, and let that sword chi leave a trail of blood on his body. Compared to seeing Zhang Fengnian tortured, this hurt is not too much. What? Seeing Ye Chen regret his sword chi, Zhang Dao could not help but change color, because Ye Chen was about to rush to him. You ******* it. Ye Chen suddenly slammed and killed Zhang Dao in front of him, his fists clenched, and he didn't use his vitality at all, only hitting Zhang Dao's face firmly with the explosive force of the flesh. Puff! Zhang Dao vomited blood and was beaten back by Ye Chen's fist. The entire face was twisted. Before he could stand on his heels, he was knocked out by Ye Chen's kick, and a blood spurted out again. The other two Hengyu disciples appeared in shock, and a trainee disciple who had a double chi was able to knock Zhang Dao down without using his chi, which was completely beyond their perception. Kill me. The crazy growl interrupted the shock of the two. Zhang Dao circulated with his hair, calling his younger brother. Let's go together. Knowing that Ye Chen is not easy to deal with, two Hengyu disciples came from left to right, and the palms of the hands were full of vitality. One gathered the palm knife and the other gathered the blades. They are the most basic methods of controlling gas. However, these are nothing in Ye Chen's eyes. Roll. With a loud roar, Ye Chen ran a thunderbolt and flew the disciple on the left out on the spot. When he landed, it was already bloody. One suddenly turned around. Ye Chen made a tiger leap and killed the disciple on the right, easily avoiding the disciple's palm knife, splitting his shoulder bone with one palm, turning his hand into a punch, and knocking him to the ground. After dying two disciples, Ye Chen kicked and flew Zhang Dao, and then hurriedly flew 4 swords to release Zhang Fengnian's chain. Grandpa. As soon as he was put down, Hua rushed to Zhang Fengnian. Senior, it's all my fault. While instilling insanity for Zhang Fengnian, Ye Chen said blamefully, his eyes were full of guilt. If it weren't for him, Zhang Dao might not have been so crazy. Little guy, don't blame yourself. Zhang Feng's injuries were indeed very serious. Although he was very old, he was protected by Ye Chen with genuine energy, at least he wouldn't worry about his life. Ye Chen swears here that you will never be hurt again. After working for 3 full hours, Ye Chen only received the chi. Zhang Fengnian had no worries about his life. He could rest for a few days. The tiger baby was nourished by the chi. It was no big deal, but the little eagle spirit beast. The scar was not healed, and the wings were hooked. I am afraid it will take several months to heal. Settled them. The look on Ye Chen's face instantly became cold. We knew it wrong. One of Hengyu's disciples was frightened and hurriedly begged for mercy. Wrong. You have to pay the price. The cold voice sounded like a majestic sentence. Ye Chen immediately lifted his foot and kicked the disciple's dantian. What? The screams suddenly sounded. My dantian, my cultivation. The disciple screamed screamingly, covering his bleeding lower abdomen, and his cold sweats swelled. From now on, he is no longer a high-level fairy, but a downright waste. Ye Chen has gone to another disciple. No. The disciple was frightened, backing away, but he couldn't escape doom. What? With the sound of a scream, the disciple's dantian was kicked, and he was completely cleaned up. He was no longer a fairy, and his miserable life was still doomed. He could not stand the blow, and he collapsed on the ground. Finally, Ye Chen turned slowly and looked at Zhang Dao, who was bloody. Zhang Dao was also really scared. He never thought that Ye Chen had shot so fiercely, but he really abolished their cultivation. As a participant in this incident, he was doomed to escape from doom. Do you know who my master is? My master is Zhe Hong, the first one of Di Yangfeng. How dare you hurt me? Zhang Dao growled, but he didn't seem to realize the seriousness of the problem, so he still took it at this moment. The master scared Ye Chen. I said, no one can save you today. The cold voice was still bones. Ye Chen's kick was crisp, and Zhang Dao's dantian was abolished. Ah! Zhang Dao's scream was so infiltrating. At this moment, he is no longer a high-level immortal. He is destined to be abandoned by the teacher. It will be a miserable life waiting for him. At this moment, he knows that he regrets and should not provoke Ye Chen, so much that it has caused today's calamity. The pain to them must be paid back 100 times. Ye Chen's anger seemed to have never dissipated, and he took out 3 silver needles from the storage bag and inserted it into Zhang Dao's body. This silver needle is the poisonous needle of the humpbacked old man. It is made by extracting the toxin of the tapeworm. After Ye Chen's personal test, the poisonous needle will not cause people to die immediately. The poisoned person will bear the pain of poisonous insects. At this moment, it seems that it is suitable for Zhang Dao. Ah, the toxin had dispersed, and Zhang Dao kept mourning, clutching his hands casually on his body. Blood traces quickly appeared. Release me, please release me. Zhang Dao hugged Ye Chen's legs. All Brother Zhao, both Brother Zhao Long. He wanted me to send the spirit curse, no matter what. My business. Quote. Zhao Long. Upon hearing the name, Ye Chen appeared in Ye Chen's eyes. Suddenly turning around, Ye Chen strode toward the door, full of suffocation and icy murderous power that could not be stopped. He wanted to go to the mountain to find Zhao Long for a decisive battle. This up was doomed to blood-stain the battle platform. Even if I die, I will make you pay a painful price. At this moment, on the Zhengyang mountain peak, Zhe Hong's high-level lectern was teaching the cultivation experience to the disciples of Di Yangfeng. Cultivation should respect heaven and earth, and the world is the largest. Qi is the root of human beings, and monks should focus on refining qi. Below, the disciples are full, respectful and respectful. Every sentence that Zhe Hong said is cherished in his heart, and he dare not be sloppy. Are they still afraid of his severe and demanding master? With a glance down, Zhe Hong rubbed his beard lightly. Looking at those awe-inspiring eyes, he even regarded himself as a superior man. He enjoyed this feeling of being supreme. At the Yangfeng mountain, he is the heaven and he is the king in charge of everything. Zhao Long, I'm waiting for you at Fengyuntai. Suddenly a cold voice came to Diangfeng. Who is challenging Brother Zhao? At the scene, there was noisy immediately. Can it be the disciples of the other 2 main peaks? Everyone is in vain. Brother Zhao Long is about to break through to the 6th heaven of Ningqi, and there is a secret technique of master's biography. At the gate of Heng Yuzong, except for the 3 first true disciples, who can defeat him? The lower Zhao Long had already got up, but the corner of his mouth was immersed in a playful smile, as if listening to the sound to know that it was Ye Chen. Longer. Who knows who challenged you? On the lectern, Zhe Hong closed his eyes and raised his soul, but his voice was full of disdain. Zhao Longnai was a disciple who he had personally trained, and he was also some of his favorite disciples. For Zhao Long he has always been confident. Master Wei Yi is an intern student named Ye Chen. Ye Chen. With a groan, Zhe Hong frowned slightly, as if the events in Juqing Pavilion sounded in his memory, and asked, is that Ye Chen who is 16 years old and only cultivated to a heavy realm? Quote. The master knows him. Zhao Long was a little surprised. He wanted to be my disciple of Di Yangfeng, but I refused. My Di Yangfeng never accepted that kind of waste. That's it. Hearing the reason that Zhe Hong said, the disciples were full of sarcasm, and the sound of sneer came one after another. I think that Ye Chen was trying to get into Diang Peak, but I thought of this method to attract the master's attention so that the master could accept him as an apprentice. It's a good idea. Go. On the lectern, Zhe Hong closed his eyes again, and said casually, just punish me, don't start with too heavy, lest others say I Di Yangfeng bullies. Chapter 13. Bet on life. What? The new intern disciple, who is only heavy and hard, wants to challenge Zhao Long. That kid is brave enough. The story of Ye Chen's challenge to Di Yangfeng and Zhao Long spread, causing an uproar in the Heng Yizong's outer gate, so that the disciples who ran out in the morning to absorb the essence of the sun and the moon all ran towards one direction and converged. From a distance, it was a battle platform full of disciples. This platform is called Fengyuntai. It is the place where Heng Yizong devoted himself to disciplining and resolving personal grievances. Over the years, the disciples who lacked arms and legs due to the upwind of Yunfengtai were no more than 1,000, and there were 800. At this moment, Ye Chen was carrying a natural beast, standing on the Fengyun platform, standing upright, standing still in the changing circumstances, like a monument that will never collapse. That's Ye Chen, my new intern student in Heng Yizong. Under Fengyuntai, the discussion sounded one after another, mostly pointing to Ye Chen, but when talking about Ye Chen's age and cultivation, they also showed disdainful eyes. I heard that the first of the 3 main peaks outside did not want to accept him as an apprentice, so I became an intern disciple. Couldn't it be that he wanted to challenge Zhao Long to attract the attention of the 3 main peaks and accept him as an apprentice? 80% is. Ye Chen turned a deaf ear to the discussion around him, the whiteness of his fist grip in his sleeve, and his body could not help but tremble because of the unstoppable killing. Zhao Long is here. With a voice coming, he suddenly looked back and looked at the end of the crowd. There, more than a dozen Dongfeng disciples in gorgeous robes came along with Zhao Long. Each of them was so arrogant that they did not dare to provoke them and gave way to them. "Hi brother Zhao Long, I've seen brother Zhao Long." Along the way, the disciples on both sides leaned forward, and the words were full of compliments. "Okay." A senior brother Zhao Long put his hands on his back, not squinting, and looked indifferent. I really didn't know he was a senior who had cultivated himself. With all the attention, Zhao Long came to Feng Yuntai, and gave a dismissive glance at Ye Chen, saying arrogantly, "Ye Chen, I will not go to you, but you come to me for too long. Come on stage." For Chen Long's disdain and mistreatment, Ye Chen only spoke these 2 words. "What do you dare to speak to brother Zhao like this?" Waiting for Zhao Long, a disciple of Di Yangfeng who came behind to help out had yelled, "You also need brother Zhao to take the shot himself." With that said, the disciple was about to rush to the stage, but was stopped by Zhao Long. "Since brother Yi has challenged me, why not go for a few tricks? Our Dongfeng has always been fair, and it must not have broken the rules of Feng Yuntai." The quiet words sounded. Zhao Long had flung his robes, and his toes were just like the wind, and he landed on the battle platform. The free and easy manner caused the female disciples to scream. Hearing, Zhao Long folded her hands again. He seemed to enjoy the complimenting and awesome gaze below, which made him soaring. On the opposite side, Ye Chen had already pulled out the sounds of nature. The sword was huge and heavy, it cut through the air, and the sound of buzzing came out. "Come on." Yi's words were loud. Ye Chen was ready to fight. "Moji." Glancing at Ye Chen with a playful smile, Zhao Long raised a playful smile. "Feng Yuntai has learned from ancient times. Did brother Ye Chen not want to gamble with me?" With a slight frown, Ye Chen saw the meaning of Zhao Long's words in an instant. This is to win something from him. On Feng Yuntai, the opposing parties can make a bet and make a bet. The winning side can take all the bets. This bet is either a spiritual stone, a sacred medicine, or a gongshushuan. The 2 sides agreed that anything that can be imagined can be used for gambling. During Zhengyang sect, Ye Chen visited Feng Yuntai more than once. He understood the rules inside. What to gamble? Ye Chen's words were plain and without emotion. If anyone loses, let the other person be a lifetime descendant. Zhao Long smiled quietly, and there was a sly light flashing in his eyes. This bet is probably 2. There was a sudden uproar below. The lifelong descendants, it's no different than selling a deed. Ye Chen has a lot of fun this time. "Brother Yi, do you look good?" Zhao Longrao looked at Ye Chen with interest, his chin raised high, full of provocation. In the spotlight, a sneer flashed in the corner of Ye Chen's mouth. "Brother Zhao wants to bet, we might as well bet a little bit." "Oh," Zhao Long raised his eyebrows and laughed, "but I don't know what brother Yi wants to bet on." "Bet, fate, hiss." Hearing the words, the sound of air conditioning is down. What a hatred it is. This is endless. It's normal to see blood on this Feng Yuntai, but bet on life, but there has never been such a precedent. I am afraid that everyone did not expect Ye Chen to come out like this. A conscientious intern disciple will bet with a condensed 6th degree disciple. This is crazy, or the brain is flooded. Opposite, Zhao Long's eyes narrowed slightly. He thought that the bet he had made was already big enough. He never thought that Ye Chen was even more crazy. He still has a life as a human being, but this life is not a joke. Xiao Ming'er is not here. "Boy, do you know what you're talking about?" With a cold voice, Zhao Long's eyes were full of ruthlessness, and the bet that the 2 said, he was already weak in the momentum of Zhao Chen. "What? Excuse me, suggest." After hearing the words, Zhao Long laughed loudly on the spot, smiled and laughed. The laughter came to an abrupt end. Looking at Ye Chen fiercely and sneered, "I bet, You want to die like this, then you can't blame me. Quote. The words did not end. Zhao Long stepped on the platform. As a blast of wind rushed to Ye Chen, Dantian rushed out with anger. There was real air flowing between the palms of his fingers, and Ling Tian patted Ye Chen's heavenly cover with a palm. Hum. Ye Chen's arm waved, and the Tianjian épée was out of gear. LB. Zhao Long patted him on the palm of the hand, and the sound of metal collision was heard, making him shudder and tremble, but he was also backed up by the force contained in the ball, and his hands were numb. I really despise you. Zhao Long was coldly repulsed by a move. Don't look at me, you will die terribly. The cold voice carried the cold murderous spirit. Ye Chen had already fluttered with great excitement. Hum, hum, hum. Soon, the sound of tetanus was endless. The heavy nature sounded and buzzed against the air and moved. The people watching the stage swallowed and drooled. This day was huge and heavy. If it was smashed, it would not feel bad. Where's this kid so hard? When the condensed gas is heavy, the amount of true qi is scarce, but it is also necessary to separate the true qi to control the tianqi. This will not only consume the true qi, but even the speed will be slowed down by the weight of tianji. Ye Chen chose tianji, which is unwise. The discerning disciple groaned, but shook his head slightly to Ye Chen's approach. However, one heavy gas can go 3 strokes in Zhao Long's hands, and Ye Chen can be regarded as having 2 sons. Quang dang. The crisp sound interrupted the discussion below. Before the 5 strokes arrived, Ye Chen's sound of nature had already been beaten by Zhao Long. At this point, many people have sighed and sighed, and many people have left the field. This war without suspense, apart from some scary bets, can hardly find any highlights. I see what else you can rely on. Zhao Long took a cold drink, stepped out, and waved out 3 sword blades. Then he followed the blades, and he was very aggressive, and he was quite ready to defeat Ye Chen in one fell swoop. Ye Chen gave a sneer. Without the restraint of the weight of Tiana, he was relaxed a lot. The speed of the suppressed blood flowing instantly accelerated, the boiling desire burned, and even the bones in his body came the sound of clicking. War. Suddenly yelling, Ye Chen kicked off the ground, and shot like a cannonball. When the 3 sword blades were about to pierce his body, he jumped suddenly, standing up like an ape, and avoided 3-rode sword blade. This is the ape portrait in the mystery of the beast's heart anger. Ye Chen avoided the 3 swords easily, making Zhao Long's heart bewildered, but he was closely following the 3 swords. Ye Chen had crossed the top of his head, so close, it was difficult for him to change his body shape. It's all in between light and flint. Give me down. All I heard was that Ye Chen gave a cold drink. He was full of strength and energy, all gathered on his right leg, and sturdily struck Zhao Long's face. Chapter 14. Win. Boom. His face was wounded, and Zhao Long was kicked with a kick. This. The disciples watching the battle were staring round, and the time on the stage for the confrontation was so short that they didn't react, and they didn't even know how Zhao Long was confused. Foot. Ye Chen, you ****** it. Zhao Long's roar rang out on the battle platform. However, he has just stabilized his body, and Ye Chen has already come forward. Kill. Zhao Long's face was a little scary, and he waved a light handprint. Various flaws. Ye Chen sneered. The beast's heart was angry and the tiger jumped out of his arms, escaped that palm, and instantly killed Zhao Long. Being close to me is destined to be your sorrow. The icy voice was flowing in the air. Ye Chen was already swiftly flowing with blood, his muscles and bones. Depressive power broke out instantly, and a punch hit Zhao Long's chest. Puff. Zhao Long spurted blood, and Ye Chen's punch was not that simple. What am I? Ye Chen didn't give Zhao Long the time to react, and bullied himself to kill him again. He looks like a beast going down the mountain, and the way out of the gloves is even weird, sometimes like a tiger, sometimes a fierce ape, sometimes a lion, sometimes like a wolf, grabbing, patting, tearing, using hands, feet, knees, shoulders, every joint on his body. The parts are all fierce weapons. Zhao Long who fought was defeated one after another, and his fist prints, palm prints, and footprints continued. What is this style of play? On the scene, the disciples watching the scene, watching the audience stunned. Ye Chen's style of play completely subverted their perception. What about gorgeous mystery? What about gorgeous moves? None of them. The most primitive fighting technique is used, but it is the most basic fighting technique, which makes Zhao Long suffer again and again. What? At this moment, the roar of Zhao Long was on the stage. Not long ago, he could not be proud of himself with the high attitude of his brother. At this moment, he was so embarrassed and confronted. He was condensed by a 6-strength practice, and he would be beaten by a condensed gas. Roar. With a roar of the wolf, interrupting the hustle and bustle below, Zhao Long used mystery. His fist had been wrapped by an elusive wolf's head. At the time of his shot, there was the roar of the wolf. Kanglangquan. The spectators in the surroundings were full of fiery eyes, as if they had seen the great power of Zhao Long and Zhan Shu. I did not expect the first seat of Di Yangfeng, and even this secret technique was taught to Zhao Long. Come on. Zhao Long frowned, punching him. Ben lay palm. Just listening to the cold drink, Ye Chen waved his regret once again. There was a thunderbolt between the palms of his fingers. The power was even more fierce and overbearing. Boom. There was a popping sound between the fists. Puff. The sound of vomiting blood suddenly started and Zhao Long was beaten back. How is it possible? In retrogression, Zhao Long looked at Ye Chen with an unbelievable face, and he clearly felt the overbearing power contained in Ye Chen's palm fingers, definitely not inferior to him. Kanglangquan, which is one of the few mysteries of Di Yangfeng, is famous for his powerful attack. With this mystery, he does not know how many outsiders have been defeated. But now, he was broken from the front by a heavy apprentice disciple, which he couldn't accept. Is he really heavy? At this moment, not only Zhao Long, but even the disciples who watched the battle from the audience also appeared for a moment. This kid is so weird. The audience was surprised, one after another, with a wonderful look. How? Still playing. Outside the crowd, a group of people rushed over again. Needless to say that the person who had left the field before, at this moment heard that the victory had not yet been separated, and they all returned. When they saw the fierce leaves when Chen Shi looked, he watched it. But where do they know how deep Ye Chen's heritage is? In the past, in the Zhengyang sect, he conquered the beast with the monster, and condensed the quartet with the realm of the Yuan dynasty. After many experiences, Zhao Long was too strong in actual combat ability. At this moment, Ye Chen has a large capacity Danhai, and the amount of true energy is not inferior to Zhao Long. The powerful body after refining is inferior to Zhao Long, and the overbearing beast that is close to him is angry, so this duel was doomed from the beginning. What? The scene was full of Zhao Long's roar, but no matter how angry he was still suppressed by Ye Chen. It's over. With Ye Chen's roar, he stepped down and leapt up, and the fierce and domineering nature was lifted above him by his head. The whole posture of splitting Washan was crisp and clear, without any gorgeousness at all. The thick nature shook the air and buzzed. Seeing this, Zhao Long talked discolored, hurriedly held up his golden sword to block, and instilled his vitality into it. Quang dang! Ye Chen slashed on the spirit sword. Boom! Zhao Long, who was standing the last moment, was half kneeled on the ground by the sword, and he even heard the sound of a broken bone in his arm. Puff! Immediately, a blood spurted out of Zhao Long's mouth. Quiet, surprisingly quiet. Not long ago, the stage was noisy, but at this time, there was only the sound of breathing, and the scene on the stage. They looked petrified. Ningqi 5 strength Zhao Long was actually kneeled on the ground by a heavy Ningqi apprentice disciple. You lose. It's impossible. Zhao Long growled, his legs trembling as he wanted to get up, but Ye Chen held it down with a sword. Your life is over. In response to Zhao Long, Ye Chen's cold voice. At this moment, everyone in the audience is awake like a dream. Bets are their lives. Ye Chen won't really kill Zhao Long, can't it? Zhao Long is the first disciple of Di Yangfeng. If he cuts with a sword, he can't live. But I look at Ye Chen's posture, but I want to kill. I'm a disciple of Di Yangfeng, would you dare to kill me? Zhao Long seemed to be unaware of the situation at the moment, his head growling and growling. What bets and bets are in his eyes a joke? Although he loses, he doesn't prove that he has to give up his life because he has a strong back office. You dare to kill Brother Zhao, Master will not forgive you. Below, the disciples who came to help out in Zhengyang yelled, but scared of Ye Chen's strength, no one dared come up. Before the bet, he must die. Ye Chen said coldly. This master, just for discussion, has to deal with people and get around. An indifferent voice sounded, and a female disciple in the crowd glanced at Ye Chen. This female disciple is truly beautiful, with beautiful eyes and clear eyes, green silk flowing like water, white clothes wagging like a lotus flower in full bloom, and all the male disciples present were scorching hot. Ren Xinfang's Su Xinyue, she came, she didn't even see it before. Ye Chen bowed his head and stared at Su Xinyue. This sister, if only Ye Chen was the loser, would you say the same thing? Your heart is too heavy to kill, and it is difficult to achieve a positive result. Su Xinyue still looked indifferent. Although standing in the crowd, he had a high-minded attitude. In the words, Ye Chen had already pronounced the way forward. Sister Shi mean, let him go. Ye Chen's mouth drew sneer, depressed anger, after all, did not erupt. This anger is not only for Zhao Long's mutilation of Zhang Fengnian, but also for Su Xinyue, because her temperament is so much like Jining Shuang. It is a high-minded attitude, and it is a kind of pity that looks like pity love is fake. I want to get you back on the right track, so I don't want to be. Do you have any relatives? Ye Chen interrupted Su Xinyue's words directly, and a pair of bloodshot pupils stared at her as if questioning. The speech was interrupted. Su Xinyue frowned, and she did not know why Ye Chen asked such a question. If I hang up your loved one and fight for a day and night, will you kill me? Ye Chen questioned, sneer looking at Su Xinyue. If you can, too, show me this mercy, the false posture of beings. Quote, you, being scolded in public like this, Su Xinyue was instantly covered with a layer of frost. At this moment, she was indifferent like her, and her **** could not help violently rising and falling. She was a disciple of Ren Yangfeng and a flower of Heng Yizong. On the stage, Ye Chen has regained her gaze and raised her palm that lingers. If this palm is broken, Zhao Long will die. However, at this moment, a powerful momentum whistled and appeared on the battle platform instantly, turning into a figure holding a dusting hand. This person, if you look closely, isn't it the first Zhe Hong of Di Yangfeng? Chapter 15. Blatantly provocative. Master, the person who saw him was Zhe Hong, and the dozen of Di Yangfeng disciples in the audience suddenly rejoiced and fell to the ground. I've seen Uncle Zhe, I've seen Uncle Zhe. The disciples at the scene also bowed and salute, and at the same time they mourn for Ye Chen. Zhe Hong is a well-known concubine, and if he is hated by him, the end is miserable. Master, save me, save me. Ye Chen is crazy, and he wants to kill me. Zhao Long, who was suppressed by Ye Chen Tianyi, first flashed a faint smile, and then hurried to Zhe Hong for help. Yes, Master, this Ye Chen is too serious to kill, and should be sent to the law enforcement hall to be severely punished. Those disciples of Di Yangfeng began to coax again. I have such evil thoughts at this age, and I will have it later. You have to decide for Brother Zhao. Noisy. Zhe Hong's snorting sound was extremely gloomy. His disciple, who was personally trained, would be defeated by a heavy apprentice disciple. He was the first one to lose his face. However, thinking of Ye Chen, he still has many surprises in his eyes, which can defeat Zhao Long, indicating that Ye Chen is not as simple as it seems. When he heard the disciples' report, Rao was his fixation, and he couldn't help but be surprised. Ye Chen, who was too lazy to look at that day, had such strength. In the final analysis, he still had some regrets. Closed, there will be no slapstick today. Ye Chen, let go of your sword. Zhe Hong froze his beard, his voice filled with endless majesty, like judgment and order. I have seen your strength, you can be my disciple of Zhe Hong. Quote, Master, what's the situation? Below, there was a voice full of surprise. Uncle Zhe wants to take Ye Chen as a disciple. I've seen Uncle Zhe so proactive for the first time. Nonsense. Ye Chen did not hesitate to make such a big move. Wasn't it just to catch Uncle Zhe's attention? The purpose was to enter the Yangfeng mountain, and now his purpose has been achieved. Ye Chen sneered at the corner of Ye Hong's words. He still did not put down the sword in his hand and laughed. First, thank you for your attention, but I have no intention of being a disciple of Di Yangfeng. Wow, the pan exploded instantly below. Zhe Hong is also a person who was one of the three main peaks of the outer gate of Heng Yizong. Many disciples have broken their heads and want to be regarded as masters. His invitation will be rejected by a conscientious apprentice. It was the first time that Zhe Hong had invited a disciple outside the world, but this was the first time that he had been rejected. What did you say? Looking at Ye Chen, a cold light flashed in Zhe Hong's eyes, his face was gloomy again, and the powerful momentum appeared suddenly. What is this? This is a naked face. Today, he has lost his face, but in order to attract talents, he is still willing to lower his attitude to invite Ye Chen, but he has lost his face again. For him, he is already the biggest laughingstock of Heng Yizong. I said, I don't plan to be a disciple of Zheng Yangfang. There was blood overflowing from the corner of his mouth, but Ye Chen was still not humble. Good horses don't eat reed grass, which is his nature. I was ignored ruthlessly that day, and now I was invited in a commanding manner. Do you really think that Ye Chen is a wall puppet with no principle? Okay, good. Zhe Hong laughed loudly, but the laughter gave a creepy feeling, and everyone felt anger from his laughter. It's over. Ye Chen will suffer in the future. Uncle Zhe must report. Ye Chen will have a hard time in the future. He is shameless, he thinks who he is. Let people go. Just listening to a violent drink, Zhe Hong glared at Ye Chen with great momentum, and vomited blood again. Sorry, I can't let people down. I have to bet on it first, and he must die today. Ye Chen shook it a few times, but still stabilized his body, and a dagger had already crossed Zhao Long's neck. Hiss. Suddenly, there was a sound of air conditioning from below. What kind of trouble is this? Is this going to challenge Zhe Hong's bottom line? This courage is not ordinary. First he defeated Zhao Long and gave him Zhe Hong's face, then he refused the invitation and made Zhe Hong Yan's face sweep away. Now even people don't let it go. This is in the face of the disciples. Naked hitting Zhe Hong face. Sin beast, look for death. Zhe Hong drank angrily, his robe was lifted by the hurricane, his palm was lifted immediately, and it was necessary to cut it with one palm. But Ye Chen had been prepared for a long time, and had taken Zhao Long to quit and go to 12 feet. First seat, I am a human, not a beast. When he stopped, Ye Chen stared directly at Zhe Hong, his words were powerful. Moreover, the dagger in his hand had cut through Zhao Long's neck, which meant that obviously, if you moved again, Lao Su would destroy him. In this scene, the hearts of all the disciples below are all mentioned, so you Ye Chen, your courage is not ordinary, and you dare to provocatively challenge the first seat. You threaten me. Staring at Ye Chen, Zhe Hong's voice froze coldly. The first talk is heavy. Ye Chen sneered. I said that before the bet, he must die so that I won't kill him. Yes, you can take him or you can depend on how much you can take. Sincerity, I have taken a step back. If you still insist on killing me in the first seat, I can only die with your disciples. Quote. Talking, Ye Chen made a cut on Zhao Long's neck again. He has already cut out. Since the ancient wealth and wealth insurance, he didn't really want to kill Zhao Long. He didn't want to die, but since he had resentment with Di Yangfeng, he simply did a big vote. People cannot kill, but they can't put it in vain. But if Zhe Hong really wanted to kill him, Ye Chen also had a mortal heart, and he would have to take Zhao Long before leaving. After all, he is betting that if he wins, he can make a fortune, and if he loses, he will have nowhere to be buried. At this moment, the scene was terrible, all that could be heard was the sound of beating hearts. Master, save, save, save me, save me. Zhao Long's roar broke the silence. He was really scared, he really felt Ye Chen's murderous power. If Zhe Hong really wanted to shoot, he may really want to be buried with Ye Chen. First seat, what do you think? Ye Chen smiled at Zhe Hong. We are gambling first, you won't really kill me in the face of so many people. You are the first seat of a peak, but don't kill me. This humble intern disciple has lost your good future. Moreover, Zhao Long has been cultivated by you. If you were to be buried with me, it wouldn't make any sense. Quote. Ye Chen, do you know what your actions today mean? Zhe Hong's voice was so cold that his face was already scary and scary. Of course I know, but I don't care. Then I will take you on the road in advance. Zhe Hong looked cold and suddenly strode forward, really killing himself. Ye Chen's eyes flickered, and he secretly said he might have lost the bet this time. However, at this moment, a gurgling voice came out from a hull in the deep. Zhe Hong, it's a big crime to kill martial disciples. Do you want to challenge the rules of my Heng Yizong? Really don't say. This discourse really made Zhe Hong stop, because that was the voice of Dao Ji, the first law enforcement hull in the outer door. With a somber old face, Zhe Hong looked at one party and said coldly, Dao Ju, was he killing my apprentice first? Do you want me to watch the apprentice be killed? Or, you deliberately cover Ye Chen? Protection. A distant laugh came from the distance. They have a gambling battle, and they have a bet on life. This is what they agreed to in advance. He lied. Ye Chen killed you and said, how come I shelter? What's more, Ye Chen has taken a step back. If you show your sincerity, you can save your disciples. Why do you need to kill and lose? If you lose, you lose. Quote. Speaking here, the voice stopped for a moment, and the voice was a bit cold. You can't afford to kill if you can't afford to lose it. Are you blind? Zhe Hong was speechless for a moment, and his anger almost stabbed him for internal injuries. Indeed, this is true. He has no right to intervene before the bet. Blame his babies for betting too much, and blame him for being too confident in his disciples. Moreover, with the strict voice and preaching from the distant voice, Zhe Hong also restored a touch of calmness. He was determined that if he shot at this time, he would follow Ye Chen on the road. Moreover, he spent too much time training Zhao Long. If he was to be buried with Ye Chen in this way, it would be worth the trouble. After several thoughts, Zhe Hong forcibly suppressed the anger, covered his face, pulled out a storage bag from his sleeve, and threw it into Ye Chen. Seeing the storage bag running, Ye Chen did not reach out to pick it up, but blocked it with a crossblade, because he felt a horrible dark power from that storage bag. If he rushed to pick it up, he would be seriously injured. Insidious and cunning, Ye Chen cursed. LB. The storage bag slammed on the puppet that day, making a sound of metal collision. Even so, Ye Chen was shocked by vomiting blood and retreated. You will pay a bitter price for today's move. Zhe Hong came like a gust of wind and went away like a gust of wind. He was taken away in Zhao Long. Only the cold voice lasted in the sky. Chapter 16. Invitation to Liangfeng. I'm waiting. Listening to the cold intimidation when Zhe Hong was leaving, Ye Chen sneered at the corner of his mouth. The end of a stormy duel. I thought there was no suspense, but it was a wonderful fight. The intern disciples counterattacked, not only defeated the first disciple of Di Yangfeng, but also blatantly provoked Zhe Hong, making the entire Di Yangfeng look shameless. This battle is destined to Ye Chen's emergence in Heng Yizong, and it is also destined that he will become a talker after dinner. You didn't see it. Zhao Long was almost killed by Ye Chen. Di Yangfeng was the first to kill someone on the spot. You didn't see his old face. This is unscientific. On the peak of Tianyang, Zhang Laodao lay on the seat like a whimper, hearing the disciples return, couldn't help but sit up, with a fat face, and wonder. Zhao Long lost. On Ren Yangfeng, the real man in Qingyang, who was meditating, heard Su Xinyue's report, and he couldn't help but opened his eyes in surprise. The outcome was beyond his expectation. Compared with Tianyang Peak and Renyang Peak, Zhe Hong's angry applause has spread throughout the mountain. Waste, all waste. With a somber old face, Zhe Hong shouted loudly, you have lost all of Yang Daifeng's face. Below, the disciples of Di Yangfeng shivered and saw that Zhe Hong was furious, and the atmosphere did not dare to say a word. And at this moment, Ye Chen, who caused this small storm, is hiding in the jungle of Haoshan now to count his spoils. The so-called booty is naturally the storage bag Zhe Hong gave him. In the storage bag, there are piles of glittering stones, and there are spiritual stones, which are the monk's common currency, which are sealed with ample aura, which can be used for shopping and cultivation. 500 spirit stones. Counting the number of spirit stones in the storage bag, Ye Chen was slightly surprised and secretly said Zhe Hong's generous handwriting. You know, at the gate of Heng Yizong, every disciple can only receive 20 spirit stones per month. The 500 spirit stones are a lot of wealth to Ye Chen. Click. A piece of spirit stone was gently crushed, and Ye Chen greedily sucked out the pure ore that overflowed, supplementing the consumption brought by the war. After successively absorbing the aura of more than a dozen spirit stones, Ye Chen only accepted the storage bag, but it was a groaning look. On Fengyuntai, he had completely offended Zhe Hong. Although he came to Heng Yizong not long ago, I have heard a lot about Zhe Hong's behavior, but he is a master who must report. It seems that the future is not very good. Rubbing his eyebrows gently, Ye Chen had a headache. At sunset in the western mountains, Ye Chen quietly came out of the back mountain and returned to the little spirit garden. The injuries of Zhang Fengnian and Hua have basically recovered, but the spirit beast named Xiaoying is not very optimistic. Soon, the big iron pot was set up, and the blazing fire was burning. Ye Chen braised the blood wolf that he had hunted for a whole pot, and the seductive aroma permeated the entire small spiritual garden. I haven't seen so much meat in a long time. Hua wiped his saliva more than once, and said he didn't forget to glance at the eagle next to the iron walk. He laughed. Xiaoying, today it's time to eat. Quote. Little guy, you are today. Aside, Zhang Fengnian looked at Ye Chen, but stopped talking. I'm fine today, he smiled, and Ye Chen kept throwing ingredients into the wok, but he said nothing about Fengyuntai today. No, nothing is fine, nothing is fine. Zhang Fengnian smiled gently, but his eyes were deeply worried. Ye Chen's battle with Zhao Long caused a lot of enthusiasm. He seemed to have heard about it a little, but it was a little unexpected, but it was a constant warmth in his heart. An irrelevant person who had never thought of saving himself was willing to take the lead. At any rate openly challenge Zhe Hong's majesty. Thinking of this, there is still a kind of sadness in Zhang Fengnian's mind. He used to be the elder of Heng Yizong, but since his demotion, how miserable his situation has been. His older brothers looked down on him, and even the disciples of the younger generation came to find trouble. Compared to his siblings and the younger disciples who bullied the ancestors, Ye Chen in front of him really contrasted them. Come on, let's eat. Ye Chen, on the side, apparently didn't notice the change in Zhang Fengnian's expression, and had taken out the stewed wolf meat. Can't wait any longer, hee. Kitty, this is yours. Eat more. At a dinner party, the sweat was drenched, and the blood wolf was a monster, covered with treasures, and used to stew soup, but it was a tonic that nourished the power, especially for Zhang Fengnian and Hua. After eating, I just feel steamy. The small spiritual garden at night was not peaceful. At halfway of dinner, a beautiful guest was welcomed. The comer was a white female disciple, bathed in the moonlight, clean and immaculate, always indifferent to the cheek with thousands of miles away from her. Carefully looking, wasn't it Su Xinyue who watched the battle in Fengyuntai during the day? Yo, Sister Su, what kind of wind is blowing you? Ye Chen did not go to see Su Xinyue. While picking up a piece of wolf meat, the words were even salty. For Xin Chen's answer that was not salty or indifferent, Su Xinyue's expression sank a little, but he took a deep breath and there was no seizure on the spot. Master invites you to enter the gate of Yangfeng, said Su Xinyue, speaking coldly, not forgetting to call a letter in the air. If you agree, you can come to Yangfeng tomorrow. Although Su Xinyue said plainly and coldly, she was suffocated in her heart. Who is she? She is a flower in the outer gate of Heng Yizong and a disciple in the first seat of Renyang Peak. Ye Chen preached, but after returning, the real man Qingyong asked her to preach again. The invitation of Ren Yangfeng really flatters me. The words have been brought to you, please do it for yourself. Su Xinyue didn't want to stay too much, leaving the letter and turning away. As she was about to step out of the little spirit garden, she stopped again and glanced at the gobbling Ye Chen. Don't think that defeating Zhao Long will make the world invincible. You must know that Heng Yizong can destroy your disciples. There are many now. Killing your heart is too heavy, and you will never achieve positive results. Quote. After speaking, Su Xinyue disappeared at the door like a breeze. Her departure didn't change Ye Chen in the slightest, and she still gorged on wolf meat. Little guy, Ren Yangfeng is one of the 3 main peaks of the outer door, let's go. Don't miss your future, and pass it. Zhang Fengnian's words were gentle, but he really thought about Ye Chen. Senior, I understand. Ye Chen grinned, and said he did not forget to touch his mouth full of oil. Soon, the gate of the little spirit garden opened again. This time, he walked in a handsome white disciple, who had reached the 6th level of condensate. Although there was only one difference, he was stronger than Zhao Long. Many. This is Wei Yong, the first disciple of Tianyang Peak. Is that you defeated Zhao Long? Wei Yong shook the fan and walked in, glanced at Zhang Fengnian, and looked at Ye Chen in a playful manner. All right. Ye Chen originally thought that Wei Yong was as polite as his appearance, but when he said that, his impression of Wei Yong was greatly reduced. He looked handsome, but in his bones he was also the kind and honest man. I don't know what my brother visits late at night, so-called. Ye Chen's discourse was still salty, and for such people, he was always too lazy to talk about it. It's not a big deal, just help Master pass a word. Master said that you can be a disciple of Tian Yangfang. Wei Yong drew a smile on the corner of his mouth, shaking the folding fan slightly, but his chin was raised tall, pretentious. Ah, Ye Chen just whispered back, and then buried his head and stuffed wolf meat into his mouth. With this posture of Ye Chen, Wei Yong was not angry or upset, but just smiled and turned to the door. However, when he was going out, he was just like Su Xinyue, and glanced at Ye Chen sideways. You have no idea that the sky is high and the earth is thick and provoked Diong Peak. Do and know how to lift it. You must know that at my Tianyang Peak in your eyes, you are nothing. Quote. With that said, Wei Yong shook the folding fan slightly and stepped out of the door. After Wei Yong left, Ye Chen really put down the dishes. Little guy, you. Zhang Fengnian still wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Ye Chen's words. Senior, I know what you are going to say. Ye Chen wiped the greasy stain on her mouth and laughed. Why don't I want to find a backer, but you also see that they look down on me from the bone. If I lick my face again going to be their disciples, isn't that boring? Quote. Hey, Zhang Fengnian was silent, but he sighed. I see everything in the martial arts very thoroughly. Ye Chen smiled slightly and continued, this is a world of strong respect, full of sinister. Although I am an apprentice, I would rather not join the top 3 main peak. Quote. Just do your best, don't suffer yourself. The predecessors taught, and the younger people remembered. Chapter 17. Marlborough. Late at night, Ye Chen sneaked out of the little spirit garden again. Looking for a lush jungle, Ye Chen sat cross-legged on a boulder. Click it, soon, the sound of bone collision sounded. 3 hours of wild refining, let him go all out, sweating, but also gradually adapted to this severe pain. The benefits of refining are also very obvious. Ye Chen deeply felt that every day of the week's burning of the heavens, the physical body becomes more refined, and the hidden power in the muscles makes him excited. Exhausted, Ye Chen was bathed in the starlight moonlight, and the whale swallowed the pure aura of the mountains. An hour later, this jumped off the boulder. The next practice is the close combat of the beast's anger, and with the strong flesh, the attacking force will become overbearing. By the time Ye Chen had received his breath, a touch of red glow had emerged from the east. The aura in the early morning is rich, the essence of alternating sun and moon, at this moment is the most pure. Until Ye Chen embarks on Hengyu Zongling Mountain, many disciples of Heng Yizong have already left their cave house. Ye Chen. When disciples who sat on the stones and vomited their auras saw Ye Chen, they all cast a strange look. At this moment, too many people dare not to underestimate the intern student who has just arrived. Yesterday's battle gave him his prestige and blatantly provoked Di Yangfeng's first seat, demonstrating his insistence on not taking tough measures. This kid became famous in World War I, but the future is not very good. Privately, many disciples secretly talked and pointed at Ye Chen. Who is Zhe Hong and can easily spare him? I heard that Zhe Hong asked the next true disciple to leave early and threatened to hit Ye Chen. Really? Then there is a good show. Along with whispering discussions around him, Ye Chen walked gently with his back on his back, but how amazingly he could not capture some useful information. True disciple. A flash of light flashed through his eyes, and Ye Chen knew it would be difficult to calm down in the next few days. Although not long after he came to Heng Yizong, I still heard a lot about Zhe Hong's behavior. He must report and use everything to the extreme. It can well explain Zhe Hong's nature, and it must be followed by stormy revenge. It looks like we have to step up our strength. Muttered, Ye Chen speeded up his pace. After making a few big bends, Ye Chen stopped in front of a loft. The loft is huge and magnificent, and it is a symbol of majesty. There is a plaque on the door, Wanbao Pavilion. Wanbao Pavilion, to be honest, is a shop of Hengyuzong. It sells all kinds of things, such as spiritual grass, spiritual fluid, spiritual fruit, spiritual jade, mysterious techniques, and spiritual tools, all of which are useful to monks. In addition to these, there are a lot of weird things here. It is said that they are all treasures. The disciples of Heng Yizong can buy spirits here, and naturally they can carry their own things to sell here. In the former Zhengyangzong, there were similar martial arts shops, but the business was booming. I don't know if there is a treasure in the Heng Yizong's Wanbao Pavilion. A quiet murmur, Ye Chen stepped in. Sitting in Wanbao Pavilion is an old man with a big belly and fat and big ears. Heng Yu is called a huge C. Unlike Ling Taij Chao Tai Fuk, these big eyes are round and slick, to see who is full of spirits, who if he steals things from him, he will never escape his eyes. Hello elder. Ye Chen walked in and saluted respectfully. Well, just look at it. The huge jellyfish with asterisk and milk, like a matria, has bright eyes. Little baby, don't steal. How dare you disciples? Ye Chen smiled and walked toward the depths. The inside of Wanbao Pavilion is very large, and the fragrance of spirit grass and fruit can be smelled everywhere. At a glance, Ye Chen has seen a lot of extraordinary treasures, and his eyes are shining. Fire lotus. Ye Chen looked at a lotus with his eyes shining brightly. It seemed to be a flame burning, and a breath of pure fire attributed to him. More powerful spirits lingered on it, which contained pure spirit, Yuan. Licking his lips, Ye Chen glanced at Ye Chen's price, but couldn't help but swallow a spit. 500 spirit stones. Ye Chen shook his head and walked away reluctantly. There is no fake stone in his arms, but it is more than 1,000 at best. Although Ye Chen's amazing power is not willing to buy. After taking a few steps, Ye Chen's eyes were constantly attracted. Renyuan grass, Biong, Wisteria ginseng, an aura of vigorous grass. Ye Chen who saw it swallowed saliva. If all these grasses were swallowed, refining, the repair must increase greatly. It's just the price. She shook her head helplessly. Ye Chen could not bear to look at the price. He originally thought that carrying more than 1,000 spirit stones was already a loss of a small fortune. Now it seems that he really thinks about it. In this mansion, his spirit stones are really nothing. Next, Ye Chen strolled around for an hour. The area where monopoly artifacts were sold was directly ignored by him, and the heavens were in his hands. He really didn't look at other artifacts. When he came to the Gongfa Xuanshu area, Ye Chen greedily picked up a scroll, but to his disappointment, it was the most basic Yuki Xuanshu. For him, it was optional. Yuling Ye. In the corner of Wanbao Pavilion, Ye Chen picked up a broken scroll with 4 large characters written on it, Yuling Scroll. With a hint of doubt in his heart, he opened the first page, but was slightly surprised, because the first page of the Yuling Scroll recorded the method of refining the Yuling liquid. Wanbao Pavilion sells even this. No wonder Ye Chen was surprised. The main reason is that this jade spirit fluid is just like a spiritual stone. It not only contains spiritual power, but also can be used as currency. For a long time, in Hengyu Zong, Yulingye was monopolized and distributed by Zongmen. Ye Chen originally thought that the refining method of Yulingye would never be passed on, but at this time, the refining method of Yulingye was placed here in its entirety. Wouldn't he be afraid that the disciples would steal the lessons? Ye Chen scratched his head, and could not help glancing at the price of the jade lingering liquid. Come on, how precious is the jade spirit liquid refining method? Only the 20 spirit stones are sold. Ye Chen once again put his eyes on the scroll in his hand, inexplicably thinking that this jade spirit scroll was a fake. At this moment, the huge sea outside writhing over and came to see Ye Chen holding the Yuling scrolls, and asked curiously, "Little guy, are you interested in Yuling scrolls?" Ye Chen shook his head, scratched his head, and asked with a smile, "Elder, is the price of this jade spirit scroll wrong?" "No way. Then the method of refining the jade spirit liquid is worth 20 psychic stones. This scroll is really valuable, but ordinary monks want it useless." "Why is that?" "Refining jade spirit liquid is a flame that needs to breed from heaven and earth. At the very least, it needs earth fire. Ordinary monks want it to be useless. They have no earth fire. A ground fire was sealed in Lingtang Pavilion, and Shu Fu's immortal was regarded as a treasure. His Lingtang Pavilion made more money than my Wanbao Pavilion. Quote, Earth fire. Ye Chen's eyes lit up, and then he whispered, that can't be made with real fire. Chapter 18. Can it be cheaper? It was said that the huge sea turned his head, and his big eyes were looking at Ye Chen like an idiot. Just a look, Ye Chen understood. He could not help smirking, he could not help scratching his head, feeling that the question he was asking was some idiot. Ground fire and real fire are both the flames of heaven and earth. But when it comes to levels, that ground fire and real fire are not a level. Ground fire can make jade spiritual fluid, let alone a stronger real fire. Elder, I want the Yuling scrolls. He stuffed the Yuling scrolls into his arms, and Ye Chen immediately took out 20 Lingxi. Then you look at it, don't steal anything. After taking Lingxi, the vast sea said and walked away. After the huge sea left, Ye Chen couldn't help feeling a little excited. He had real fire, and he was already qualified to make jade spirits. As long as he carefully understood the method of refining, he would definitely be able to make jade spirits. For a moment, he seemed to have seen a bottle of jade lingering in front of his eyes. Ye Chen was just in a good mood, but the real fire in his body trembled slightly. There is a baby. This was the first thought in Ye Chen's mind. When he was in the possession of the spirit, the real fire in his body trembled, so he chose Tianmao and obtained the secret method of the barren refining body. Since then, he has a speculation that the real fire in his body has the ability to identify the baby. To make you value, that baby must be extraordinary. Ye Chen patted his abdomen, his eyes were like a torch, and he swept over everything on the shelf, until a purple gourd came into his eyes, and the real fire trembled. It goes without saying that it is you. After locking the baby, Ye Chen strode away and held the small gourd in his hand. The small gourd is only the size of an adult's palm, showing purple gold color, and is a bit shabby, except for a few runes that are not understood on all sides, which is not surprising. However, Ye Chen knows that a real baby can't look at his appearance. Isn't his genius a good-looking man? It seems that it is an épée, but it is a secret of refining the body. After gently pulling the gourd stopper, Ye Chen closed her eyes and looked into the small gourd, but was surprised to find that it was a self-contained circle with a large space, and it was not a problem to install a dozen tanks of water. You fancy it, because the space inside it is large. Ye Chen glanced at the real fire in Danhai. Real fire seemed to be spiritual and trembled. Believe in you. Ye Chen did not hesitate. Looking at the price marked under the gourd, the corner of her mouth could not help but twitch. I'm dripping obediently, 100 and 300 spirit stones. You can't afford to lose your home. Ye Chen murmured, but the real fire was shaking. Little guy, do you fancy this little gourd? The huge sea is really a master who appeared behind Ye Chen, but did not make any noise, so that Ye Chen was shocked. Ye Chen grinned and scratched his head a little, embarrassedly. That, Elder Pang, can you gourd be cheaper? That won't work. The purple gold gourd has a space inside, 100 and 300 delinquents, which is already very cheap. That's it. Ye Chen regretted. Seeing Ye Chen showing such an embarrassing gesture, the huge jellyfish started to ask, how many spirit stones do you have? 1001. What's the difference of 200? Would you like to take something else? Come together. Hearing that, Ye Chen coughed, rushed to the vast sea, and then scooped out a small black bottle from the storage bag. What is this? Dahai took the small black bottle, then removed the stopper, put it in front of his nose and sniffed gently. Suddenly, the puppet was caught and hurriedly blocked the stopper. Small thing, this is a poison pill. After being stung, the huge sea glared with a mustache. Where are you from this ghost thing? Pick it up. Ye Chen touched the tip of his nose and gave the small black bottle to the huge sea. It was obtained from the old man with a humpback. It was definitely a top-grade poison. The blood pills are full. Pick it up. Am I flickering? Then I have only this bottle of bloodthirsty pills. Ye Chen spread his hand. If the elders think it can, use it to cover the 200 difference. At a young age, he doesn't want to be aggressive, and he cleans up the evil things. The elders of Dahai taught the younger one's gesture, but it was just a rumor, but the little black bottle was consciously stuffed into his arms. The bloodthirsty pill is too toxic, let me stay here. The purple gold gourd barely sells you. Hearing this, Rao was twitched by Ye Chen's determination. He secretly wanted to rectify these useless things. He didn't know that he had a big loss. Although he murmured in his heart, Ye Chen still took out 1,100 spirit stones. The purple gourd is yours. Thank you, elder. Ye Chen stuffed the purple gold gourd into his arms, and Ma Lu walked out of Wanbao Pavilion, fearing that the huge sea would regret it and rob it again. After Ye Chen left, the huge sea took out the little black bottle. The bloodthirsty pills of the bloodthirsty hall, this time made a lot of money. Da Hai Hai held a small black bottle and laughed. Back at the top of the hill, Ye Chen sat cross-legged under the stone, and took out the purple gold gourd. The dagger cut through his fingers, a little blood dripped on it, and it was absorbed immediately. However, Ye Chen hoped that there were no hidden secrets or artistic conceptions in the Zijin gourd, which could not help but disappoint him. 1,300 spirit stones. Holding Chen Zijin's small gourd, Ye Chen stunned, thinking of the 1,000 spirit stones, but couldn't help but feel a little bit of pain. I bought it for you. Quote. Hey, shaking his head secretly, Ye Chen stuffed the small gourd into the storage bag again. It was just that he never discovered that the purple golden gourd flashed a purple halo at the moment when it was stuffed into the storage bag, but Ye Chen hadn't noticed it. After receiving the Zijin gourd, Ye Chen took out the unyielding scroll and studied it carefully. After all, he hadn't touched the field of alchemy before. Ye Chen spent 9 hours to realize it repeatedly, and he didn't put down the scroll until the jade's refining method was well known. The process of refining jade spirit fluid is not very complicated and requires more than a dozen kinds of spirit grasses, but what relieves him is that these spirit grasses are not difficult to find. At this moment, it is already sunset. Ye Chen looked at the sky, still turned over and jumped up, toward the Hengyuzong Haoshan. Hengyuzonggo Mountain, although the density of the aura is slightly weaker, is also a good place for cultivating spirit grass. Many disciples of Hengyuzong will come to pick the spirit grass. According to the unyielding scrolls, Ye Chen shuttled through the lush flower and grass jungle. Whenever he saw the necessary grass, he would be included in the bag. For an hour of picking, the required grass was almost ready. It's only snow magnolia flowers. Ye Chen found that the only thing missing was snow magnolia flowers. This snow magnolia flower is no better than several other spirit grasses, shouldn't there be in this place? Muttered in a low voice, and Ye Chen rushed into the jungle again. His luck was good, and he soon found a snow magnolia flower. This kind of spirit grass is mild, lingering aura, white and whole body, like snow, and it also has a kind of coolness to start with. I got a snow magnolia flower, but Ye Chen never left. The first time he refined jade lingye, the chances of failure were still very high, and he needed to prepare more copies. Soon, the second snow magnolia came into view. Luck is really good. Ye Chen grinned, stepping on the rocks, leaping forward, and waved off the snow magnolia flower. Just after landing, a dissonant voice came. That snow magnolia flower is mine. After that, a shadow of Qian has stepped out of the flower room, reflecting the moonlight, making her exceptionally bright, like a lotus flower. This person, take a closer look, isn't it Su Xinyue of Ren Yangfeng? Chapter 19. Refined Jade Spirit Liquid. Sister Su, what a coincidence. Seeing Su Xinyue, Ye Chen said something saltily. Hand over the snow magnolia flowers. This plant is mine, sister wants it, find it myself. Ye Chen yanked her ears, but consciously put snow magnolia flowers in her arms. Give shame to your face. Su Xinyue shot immediately, lingering white light over the jade hand, and patted it with a palm. Are all the grasses you grabbed so arrogant? Ye Chen's eyes flickered, he didn't retreat, he punched out. The fists were staggered, and both were shaken back. Su Xinyue gave a cold sigh and moved again. Her toes were pointy. Her body was extremely light, and a spirit sword had flew out of her sleeve, which she held in her hand. Chen Fengyan. With Su Xinyue's cold voice, the spirit sword trembled, and the aura of light lingered. She was pointed out by her sword and pierced the air, but the sound of wind and yin was extremely sharp. Seeing this, Ye Chen's face cooled down. He never thought that Su Xinyue would use mysterious mystery and that his shot was a killing move. He was determined that if he did not take a defense, he would be penetrated by a sword. Immediately, he pulled out the Tianjian sword he was carrying. LB. The sound of a metal collision came, and the sword of Tian Yao buzzed and shook, and Ye Chen was also shaken back. More importantly, Su Xinyue's move was clear and windy. Although it was blocked, there was a wind blade scattered, which split Ye Chen. One of his robes had blood marks on his face. It's too heavy to kill, you can't make a positive result. With one move, Su Xinyue waved the sword again, cut out the half-moon wind blade, and cut through the air. For a spirit grass, kill the same disciples. Sister Su, do you want to kill you or me? Ye Chen was really angry, and really felt the murder in her sword. Clearly the killer is her, but she has a decent attitude. Between the electro-optic flint, Ye Chen stepped out one step, instilling his vitality in the heavens, and the cross sword split. LB. It was the sound of a metal collision again. Ye Chen was so overwhelming that he had decided to give Su Xinyue a lesson. However, he just stepped out, and a strong palm wind screamed from the side. People's realm. Ye Chen's eyes lightened. Suddenly, he hurled his fist to meet. However, the secret person shot too fast, and he hurriedly failed to fully gather the energy, so the sudden attack hit him and stepped back. It's such a courage to dare to move even my Yangfang man. The sound came from the wind, and there was a white shadow flashing in the jungle. The speed was extremely fast, and he immediately bullied himself in front of Ye Chen, waving his hand and slanting it down. Seeing this, Ye Chen hurriedly lifted the tentacles in front of him. LB. The man who shot it slaps on the palm of his hand. The horrible palm force shook Ye Chen back again, and before he could stop his figure, he slapped his face again with a palm. Everything came too quickly. Rao was his actual combat ability, and he could not respond. The man who shot was a real human realm. His strength was overbearing. In addition, it was a sneak attack, leaving him no room to fight. Puff. When he stopped his body shape, Ye Chen spit out blood, his body was stunned, and he almost fell down. Ye Chen saw the appearance of the people. It was a young man in a white robe. He was considered to be personable, showing his graceful temperament with his hands raised, but there was a hateful playful smile on the corner of his mouth. Brother Chi Hao. Su Xinyue suddenly smiled when she saw someone, and there was still admiration in her beautiful eyes. Sister Su, are you okay? The young man named Chi Hao smiled like a wind, but it was extremely false. I'm fine. Su Xinyue was a little shy and was concerned by her sweetheart, but when she turned to look at Ye Chen, frost appeared on her cheek again. Brother, he is Ye Chen. Oh, hearing that, Chi Hao was immediately interested, and looked at Ye Chen with amusement. It turns out that you are my new apprentice to Heng Yizong. Cultivating in the realm of people's realm, it was a sneak attack. Ye Chen sneered, and his anger ignited. Don't think that defeating Zhao Long's waste will make the world invincible. You know, in my eyes, you are still weak and vulnerable. Chi Hao flashed a sneer. Renyong Feng gives you a face. You don't know how to make progress. I really do and know how to do it. Quote. Remember the enemy of sneak attack today. I'm waiting for you to seek revenge. Chi Hao smiled sadly. Having said that, Chi Hao turned around and walked to Su Xinyue in a graceful step, and then took the snow magnolia flower, handed him in front of Su Xinyue and smiled. Sister Su, here you are. Quote. Thank you, brother. Su Xinyue smiled shyly, and another blush flashed on her cheek. Leave and return to Yangfang. Okay. The two departed side by side, leaving Ye Chen with a stupid figure. This account, I remember. You wait for Lao Su. In the cold light in his eyes, Ye Chen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth fiercely. Instead of leaving, he found a secret place to heal himself. Less than half a day, his amazing resilience allowed the injury to recover, and continued to search for snow magnolia. He needed snow magnolia flower to refine the jade spirit fluid, so as to fill the large capacity Danhai with the aid of the jade spirit fluid, so that he could make a breakthrough as soon as possible. It was only at dawn that he walked out of Haoshan. After nearly 10 hours of hard work, he only found 9 snow magnolia flowers, but it was also enough for him to try to make jade spiritual fluid. That little hill again. After Ye Chen calmed down the qi, his mind summoned the real fire, controlled the flame with the method of imperial qi, and condensed into a flame furnace. Then, a plant of spirit grass was put in, regardless of the order, and the real fire surged, and the grass that was thrown in turned into ashes on the spot. "The fire is too fierce," Ye Chen said secretly in his heart, and then steadily controlled the real fire to reduce the fire. More than a dozen spirit grasses were thrown in, the grass quickly withered, and drops of liquid of various colors were refined. This is a slow process. Ye Chen's state of mind is clear, sweating, and highly concentrated. Although he failed a few times, he also found a trick. As the ashes of the spiritual grass on the ground continued to increase, his control of the fire gradually became skilled. "I do not know when. There is a scent of medicine on the top of the hill. Get out of the oven." With Ye Chen's cry, a blob of spirits flew out of the flame, and he took it with a jade bottle. "Call." With a spit of stale air, Ye Chen held tightly 3 bottles of unyielding liquid, greedily sucking the rich medicine fragrance overflowing from the bottle. Finally, hard work wasn't in vain. Ye Chen felt exhausted a lot while sweating and smelling the medicine. "I just don't know how effective the medicine is," murmured to himself. Ye Chen raised his head and poured a bottle of unyielding liquid into his mouth. Suddenly, Ye Chen was shocked. The unyielding liquid flowing into the body is like a Wang Qingquan flowing through all the meridians of the body, soothing his tiredness and nourishing his spleen and kidney. "Huh!" Ye Chen gave a soft whisper, and a joyous expression appeared on his face, because he continued to take the spiritual fluid, allowing him to touch the double barrier of condensation. "Be angry." Ye Chen poured the remaining 2 bottles of jade spirit liquid into his mouth all at once. This time, the gold fire burst out. Looking from a distance, Ye Chen was burning with a golden flame, long black hair, and no wind automatically. With him as the center, a huge aura of vortex was formed. Ye Chen did not refuse to come, and his body was like a bottomless pit. Heaven and Earth Reiki. I don't know when such a voice came from Mingming. Chapter 20. Have money to earn. Advanced. With Ye Chen's growl, he condensed heavily and jumped into condensate. Significant changes have also taken place in his body. Firstly, Danhai has widened a lot, and his qi has become more and more refined. Then the meridians and bones have become tougher, and he has been stained with a strand of gold. In addition to these, Ye Chen also found the abundance of power in his fist. He was confident that a punch would be enough to kill a yak. "Call." With a spit of muddy air, Ye Chen slowly opened his eyes. Click it, click it. It was refreshing to twist a bit of the stiff body, and the sound of a rattling sound of the bones came out, which made me feel comfortable. Yes, Ye Chen could not help but applaud. Naturally, it is not these that excite him most, but the spiritual power contained in the jade liquid he refined, which is not comparable to the jade liquid delivered by Zongman. Jade spirit liquid made by real fire and earth fire is really not a level. For a while, Ye Chen thought of getting rich. There is real fire, and there is a method for refining the jade spiritual liquid. Over time, the speed and quality of the jade spiritual liquid refining must increase rapidly. Things. Xianxia suppressed the excitement in his heart. Ye Chen was full of energy. With a change of heart, he summoned the real fire again, condensed into the shape of a tripod, and put a bunch of herbs into it again. Because of the successful precedent, his control of the flames became more and more proficient, and the spiritual power of Ye became extremely sophisticated. When the night fell, he stopped refining. It was not that he was willing to stop, but that the herbs needed for refining the Ye had run out, more precisely, because there was no snow magnolia flower. The spirit grass needed for refining the jade syrup is not difficult to find in Haoshan, just this snow magnolia flower. Ye Chen thought about the problem. Yesterday he spent a lot of time in Haoshan. Other spirits were collected a lot, but the snow magnolia flower was difficult to find in Haoshan. He only collected 9 plants. If you want to find a way to get more magnolia flowers. Ye Chen touched his chin. The first thing that came to mind was Wanbao Pavilion. Wanbao is rich in treasures, and it should not be difficult to get some snow magnolia flowers, but this spirit stone. Ye Chen muttered softly, not forgetting to poke into his storage bag, and he could not help but cough. Previously in Wanbao Pavilion, he spent all his savings in order to buy that purple gold gourd. Although he wanted to make more snow magnolia flowers, he was so shy in his pockets that he couldn't help scratching his ears. Where to get some money? Scratching his head, Ye Chen was a little tangled, only to find that it is really difficult to do without a spirit stone. Ye Chen, the battle will end tomorrow. While Ye Chen was thinking, such a voice reached the top of the hill. On hearing that, Ye Chen's eyes brightened. This time, I made money. Rubbing his hands, Ye Chen could not help looking up at the vigorous Tianyang mountain. Because, from the sound, he could hear that it was Wei Yong of Tianyang Peak who challenged the book. That's right, he rejected Tian Yangfeng's invitation, and also hit Tian Yangfeng's face in disguise. Although Yang Feng's first old road that day was not as bad as Zhe Hong's, he must report it, but after all, Ye Chen let Tian Yangfeng lose his face. Without teaching Ye Chen, Tian Yangfeng must sweep the floor with majesty. But at this time Ye Chen didn't care so much, he now only had money. With money to make, he doesn't mind going to Fengyuntai again. There was nothing to say all night, and then dawn. The day is not yet bright, and most of the disciples outside have already ran out. Last night, Tianyang Feng Wei Yong's challenge was heard. The target of the challenge was Ye Chen, a disciple who likes to watch lively people, and has already gathered under Fengyuntai. I said, this time you guess Ye Chen can win. The two sides of the duel have not yet arrived, and the audience has begun discussions. In my opinion, Wei Yong is the seventh peak of Ningxi. It is a little higher than Jiaolong. Although it is only a small realm, its strength is far worse. How do I feel Ye Chen will win? No, don't you forget Wei Yang's method. Ice is really angry, said Wei Yang's means. The disciples present could not help but shudder. Look, Wei Yong is here. I don't know who said it, everyone's eyes were looking in one direction. There, the crowd had cleared away. Wei Yong, dressed in a white robe, came in personally. His prestige didn't seem to be so low, that he listened to the flattery all the way. Wei Yong seemed to enjoy the awe-inspiring gaze around him. Such a gaze made him helpless. Even so, he still put on a false attitude of indifference and fame, walked straight to Fengyuntai, and then stood with his hands behind his back, standing upright, holding the four sides. Ye Chen is here too. Soon, the disciples who watched the battle raged again. The bustling figure gave way again in a tacit manner. Ye Chen strode forward, striding steadily and powerfully, and carrying his more than 200 kilograms of Tianjian épée. Grunt. When I saw the heavy sword that day, many disciples could not help secretly swallowing a spit of water. I still remember a few days ago that Zhao Long was kneeled on the ground by this sword. If this is an ordinary disciple, he might be hit by the sword. Maybe it became a stun. Brothers, early, Ye Chen was a self-acquainted man, waving his hand all the way, but his enthusiasm was not responded at all, which made him feel awkward. No one ignored him. Ye Chen could not help but cough, then strode to Fengyuntai. At this moment, Wei Yong, standing on Fengyuntai, also opened his eyes. Ye Chen, you have such a courage to dare to refuse my invitation to Tianyang Peak. Wei Yong shouted loudly as soon as he came up. After hearing the words, Ye Chen raised an eyebrow. Brother Wei, you are wrong, and the door regulations do not stipulate that I must join you in Tianyang Peak, and whether to join you in Tianyang Peak is my choice. No way. Quote. Well, a clever mouth. Wei Yong sneered. Today, I will let you know how to despise my Tianyang Peak. Talking, Wei Yong stepped on his soles. Soon, with the soles of his feet as the center, an icy white chi spread rapidly. Wherever the white chi passed, the surface of Fengyuntai formed icy ice at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ice is really angry. Seeing this scene, Ye Chen was slightly surprised. Boy, do you know a lot. Wei Yang's mouth evoked a playful smile. It's really clumsy. Ye Chen could not help but touch his chin. In Zhengyang sect, he has also seen the true chi with such cold attributes. This kind of ice is born naturally, and it is also acquired. The acquired one has to suffer from the pain of freezing through the bones, and not everyone can bear the pain of freezing through the bones. As for Wei Yong, Ye Chen was slightly surprised. He belonged to a person who was born with cold ice. Although they are all ice cold, the difference between the acquired and acquired congenitals is not so large. Generally, such people will be specially trained by Zongmen, and this kind of people want to come to Weiyang. During the talk, the cold ice had spread to Ye Chen's feet. However, he did not retreat, allowing the ice to invade his body through the soles of his feet, and then freezing his body and freezing his meridians. Wow! His actions screamed the disciples below. As Ye Chen looking for death, cold ice intrudes into the body. This is not a joke. I think he's frightened by 80%. Among them, too many disciples had eaten crickets in Weiyang's hands. The ice qi does not need ordinary qi. Once it has penetrated into the body, it is difficult to resist. Generally, people who have ice qi will avoid it, for fear that the ice qi will invade the body. Ye Chen was better, not hiding or flashing, and letting the ice freeze his body.